All right, let's go, buddy. Ooh. Hello. What's up? What's up, Russ? What's up, Ed? Sophie, hello. How you doing? Good to see you. What's up, Penguin Butt? Today's sad? Why? It's Friday. We have coffee. Ryan, Ben, what up? Then Kono, hello. Hazimandius, what's up? Glad Cleric, yo. Damn, what's up? Pixel Games, yo. Amber, hello. Pickle, what up? Average Joe, what's up? Thanks, buddy. Welcome, dude. Nathan, what's up, man? Savannah, hello. Ryan Kim, what up, dude? Well, you're in the house too, buddy. Frederick, hello. Harry Whitehound, what's up? Star Chives. Eh? Porter, Michael, what up? Cold Soak, what's up, dude? Oh, Eric, Elia, what's up? Chauncey, Aiden, what's up? You're watching Critical Role? Oh, did one of the characters die or something? Is that what's going on? I don't watch that stuff. Tony, yo! Bobo or Bobo. Bobo, what up? Welcome back. You guys know that Bobo means dumb, I believe, in Korean. Just so you're aware, that's what Bobo means in some languages. Yes, Pickle, the cats are so ready for a strike. They know the special lighting and me talking to myself means it's time for cat strike. Goliath Cleric, I am well aware that you killed Penguin Butt's character last night. And I just want you to know that tomorrow is your first time in my Ancient Dragon Patreon game. And Penguin Butt has already bribed me with a substantial amount of money to set the record straight, to even things up. So I just want you to know that justice will be served. So I would not spend a whole lot of time writing the backstory of your character, you know, just in case. So yeah, I just want to make that aware, let you know about that, dude. Luke, it was your first time ever dying, Penguin Butt? Dang. Pat Compton, what's up, dude? Hey, thanks, man. I actually just literally, Pat was congratulating me on the Kickstarter. I appreciate that. Literally today, I finished writing the last stretch goal adventure for my Kickstarter and sent it over to Danny for her to do her little review for it and stuff. And yeah, that was a huge accomplishment. So that basically means the writing is finished. There's still like editing that needs to be done. I have a copy editor that I've contracted to look over my junk to make sure it doesn't totally suck. And I still have to incorporate stuff from playtesting and stuff. But a lot of that is done, and I'm so relieved. Pixel, I'm glad to be able to help, dude. Helped your homebrews not suck? Cool. That's the goal. As long as we don't suck. As long as we're okay-ish and passable, we are happy. That is the goal. Cynthia, hello. Gutierrez, what's up? ¿Qué onda? Well, I don't know if you speak Spanish, but what up? Danny says it doesn't totally suck. It only sucks a little bit, but I make it awesome, so it's okay. Yes, Danny, thank you. We appreciate that. Danny. Oh, Danny is here. Holy crap. She comes to YouTube. Hey, you know what, moderators? I just want to throw this out there. I love having Danny in the streams, and since she can only come to the YouTube streams and she can't come to the Twitch streams where I stream every week all the time, but since she can only come to the YouTube ones, we might just start coming to YouTube, like, you know, instead of Twitch, you know, so that she can make it. I hope that's okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have like a mass exodus of moderators. They're all gonna quit. It's totally professional crap. Yes. Brashneer, what's up? You've been a dungeon nerd since master school? Oh wait, you got them. Oh. Dan says move her out to you so she has better internet. I think the internet, hopefully the internet will be resolving itself sometime-ish here. Oh, cool. Well, welcome, Cynthia. You get inspired. Oh, that's too much pressure. Don't put that kind of pressure on me. Oh, I know, Brashneer. I know you were messing with it. It's all good, dude. Eric from Phoenix, what up? Wait, Goliath Cleric, are you in Texas too? Dang, what is up with all my moderators like being in Texas? You know, I could build you guys a tree house out back behind my house, and you guys could I could run like an internet line out there, and I'll be good. Yes, Dan, you're not in Texas. Mommy. Mommy cat wants attention. I clearly have a type. Thanks, Sophie. I mean, I like Texas. I've actually, you know, I've only been to Texas once. Well, once that wasn't the airport. Where did I go? I think it was McAllen. Was it McAllen, Texas? I forget which one it was. I could look it up on a map. Hold on a second. Laredo. No, I think it was Laredo. Was it Laredo? I think it was Laredo. Hold on. My cat is bugging me. Texas. Mommy, I'm trying to work. Okay, I'm going to a map of Texas. It was right on the border. It was Laredo. I went to Laredo. Yeah. I went to McAllen, Texas. I've been to McAllen, Texas, and I've been to Laredo, Texas. They're both towns like right on the border. That's all I've ever been to in Texas. Besides like an airport. I think I was probably in like one of the airports in the major cities, but that doesn't really count. How many cats do I have? Oh, 7? How was the visit? I don't remember anything about McAllen, Texas, because that was like back when I was in college. But when I went to Laredo, Texas, at least the parts of Laredo, Texas were not super impressive. It was not a very clean place. Like, I walk into a Walmart and it's just like litter all over the ground. I'm just like, what the heck, dude? Come on, man. It just wasn't super impressive. But I don't know. But that was just one place I was at, you know, for a short period of time. So it's not enough to really draw any conclusions, obviously. Ooh, Noki, yes. Oh, yeah, did somebody link the, yeah, there you go. But later on, I was talking to somebody down there in Laredo, and they were like, oh, which Walmart did you go to? And I told them which one. And they're like, oh, yeah, that's the trashy one. You don't want to go to that one. There's a better Walmart. And I was like, oh, okay, I didn't know that. So I guess I probably went to a bad one or something. I have no idea. I was a tourist. I was just following the GPS in my rental car, you know? All right, let's go take a look. Oh, we should probably start the stream. We could probably start things going here. Whee! That's so beautiful. Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight, we have a special treat for you. Me? That was the stupid intro. All right, so yeah, you got the stupid intro out of the way. What up? This is a live stream. We're gonna be talking about D&D and stuff like that. So throw questions at me. I'll give you answers and stuff. Some of them might be okay-ish. Do we really have that many questions already? Holy crap. Wait, oh, I'm on the wrong tab. Okay, I was on a different tab. My moderators are all capturing your questions into a spreadsheet where I will then pull them from and answer them, so there is no need to spam. In fact, I can tell you from firsthand experience that my moderators love spammers. And in particular, they love swinging their wrenches at spammers and smashing their faces in, timing them out, muting them, kicking them, booting them. They have a field day on spammers, so please, by all means, you know, let them have fun. And yeah, they enjoy that stuff, I guess. I don't know. I guess that's probably why they became moderators. I don't know. So anyway, so if you don't want to get smashed in the face with a wrench, don't spam. Post your question once, it goes into the spreadsheet. I'm going to get inundated with questions, so I'll do the best I can, but I talk a lot. I have a big mouth. I'm long-winded. So the nature of that is that I'll only be able to answer so many questions. So I don't know. You can always bribe me with a super chat or send me bacon to my P.O. box or something. I don't know. And that probably will get you to the top. If you send me bacon or cupcakes or chocolate chip cookies or brownies, I haven't had ice cream now. You know what? Brownies and ice cream. If you send that to my P.O. box, I guarantee you, I will put your question. Yeah, we'll get you hooked up. So I'm gonna find brownies and ice cream all melted and rotted. Oh, I'll have a note from the post office, sir. All right, tapioca pudding. I'll take that. I like tapioca pudding. That's really good. You never check your P.O. box. That's very true. You guys, I check my P.O. box once a month, and only when I'm expecting something. No, Dan, you do not have my P.O. box. You do not. There's a reason I don't give that out. There's only one person here, I believe, that has been entrusted my P.O. box, and she is in my employ, and I have absolute confidence that she will never reveal it to you, Dan. All right, before we jump in here, I want to start off with a shameless, sleazy plug. I have now begun publishing a monthly PDF over on my Patreon. It is full of Dungeon Master resources, such as villains with stat blocks, encounters with maps like the ones you just saw there, designed for virtual tabletops. I have things like traps in them. I have entire 5th edition adventures. You're looking at one right now with maps, again, designed for virtual tabletops such as Roll20 and Fantasy Grounds. I've teamed up with the Mad Cartographer, who makes professional high-grade maps, really cool looking stuff. You're about to see one gonna pop up on the screen right there. That's the Medusa Lair map. What you're seeing here is the PDF that just dropped for February. This has over 30 pages of Dungeon Master resources, high quality crap in it for Dungeon Masters. And every single month, my patrons get another PDF. Now, the idea of these PDFs is that it would hopefully reduce your prep time and possibly improve the quality of your games. So if you want to get out on that action, there is a link below to my Patreon where you can see the different tiers that are available and see which one might be right for you. There are different levels you can sign up at. Obviously, the higher the level, the more access you're gonna get and stuff. That's the way that stuff kind of works there. But this is pretty high quality crap here every single month. So if you're into that stuff, go check it out. It's very, very cool. I mean, of course I'm gonna say it's very, very cool because I produced the thing. You know, you're never gonna have the creator of a product say, hey, you know what, my product sucks, you should never buy it. We're never gonna say that. So you're just gonna have, there's actually a sample. If you go to my Patreon page, there's a sample PDF that you can look at and get an idea of what you're in for. So anyway, the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to give a shout out to lots of my wonderful, awesome patrons who help keep the lights on around here and send me brownies to my P.O. box. No, they've never done that. In particular, I want to thank Aruthra, Beoban, Candy Sora, Clammed Oyster, Cockadoodle-Doo, DM0865, DM Silver, Drake H, Dresna, Ed R, Elisa Goose. Ed and Elisa Goose are in the house tonight. Emmy, Float71, Goliath Cleric in the house, Iron Lord 79, Jake L, James L, Leopold, X92, John Kenny, Joe M, John H, Joseph H, Kezides, Kurt Y, Kyrioko, Michael C, Mr. T, Nathan O&D, Paul B, Penguin Butt representing, published author, Radiance Guardians, Robert W, Ron H, Ryan, Sakura, Simon, Shane C, Sophia W, Son of a Sofa Man, Tactical Tokens in the house, I believe, Tim Black, Tony M, the old DM, the Pickle, I saw the Pickle here, thank you, welcome, hi, Theta Tag, Threezul, Vincent, and Watuza. Woo! And if you're in the house, and I didn't say you were in the house, I apologize, but there's a bunch of chat. I can't read it all. It's hard. My life is hard. It's so difficult. All right, let's answer some questions. After a dramatic sip of coffee. By the way, we have a coffee cam, so you guys can keep me honest. When I'm getting low on coffee, you have to warn me beforehand before I run out. If I run out of coffee, the stream ends. All right, let's see. Let's mark, if we can get a moderator also that will mark the questions, like the green for the questions that should be marked green, that would be very helpful too. So I don't have to, it helps guide me. Hello Luke, I just started creating my first campaign and I wanted to ask, is it too OP to give my players a ring to each one that has powers like a bag of holding with limits? Okay, so yeah, okay, now we're into the quintessential question. I don't want to track encumbrance and how much people are carrying. So because I don't want to track these things, I just want to give everybody a bag of holding so I don't have to track these things, the group doesn't have to track these things, and we don't have to worry about encumbrance. Because you know what? Encumbrance sucks. Tracking carrying capacity sucks. It's not fun. It's bean counting. It's math. It's simple math, but it's still math. And really, we just want to kill goblins. So do we have to track encumbrance and crap and what we're carrying and how much weight and all this horse crap? No, you don't have to track that stuff. If you want, as a solution to not having to track carrying capacity and encumbrance, to give everybody essentially a bag of holding, then whatever, do it. Is it OP? Who cares? You're avoiding the tedium of having to track what everybody is carrying and just giving them a bag of holding. Okay, that's I have a friend John who does the same thing. He basically has told me that he seeks very early in the game to give the party a bag of holding so they don't have to worry about tracking what they're carrying. Now my solution to this is very similar. I just don't care how much stuff you're carrying. I'm not gonna double check it. So how much gold are you have on you? How many suits of armor are you carrying? Let's take a look at your inventory. I just don't care. So I just don't track it. So if you prefer to have an in-game reason, a story reason, if you will, of why you don't have to track what people are carrying, then knock yourself out. Not a big deal. Or you could just hand wave it and just be like, I don't care. Don't ask, don't tell. You know, if you come up to me like, hey, Luke, I'm carrying 20 suits of plate armor, then I'm probably going to have a problem with that. But if you are, and I don't know, hey, no harm, no foul. So I don't have a problem with that. Not that if I did have a problem, who cares? It's just one man's opinion, but I think you're fine, dude. Oh, it's the blue. It's the blue marking that I need. Yeah. I think I said green. No, it does not devalue strength-based characters. Dude, strength gets used every time you swing your sword. Every time you attack in the game, you're using your strength if you're a strength-based character. You're getting your damage added to it. You're doing tons of stuff. Strength is one of those stats that gets used all the time. Strength is constantly used. Constitution is one of the most important stats. Dexterity benefits everybody. Not only are dexterity saving throws one of the most common type of saving throw, I think, if not one of the most common, but also armor class. So, but the what you don't want to do is devalue things like intelligence or wisdom or charisma. Devaluing those, well, wisdom's a pretty important saving throw, but intelligence and charisma, well, charisma is kind of an important saving throw too, but devaluing those skills and stuff and making those easier to dump. Now devaluing those I see as an issue, right? I wouldn't want to introduce a game mechanic that devalues those, you know, but if you're a strength-based character, dude, you're using your strength every day, all the time. You're breaking down doors, you're swinging your sword, your axe, whatever. You're making athletics checks, you're pushing people down, you're shoving them, you're climbing up the sides of crap. Like, you're using that all the time. So yeah, I don't think it's that big of a deal. Sorry, I kind of jumped all over that. I'm opinionated. I have, how many cats? I have 4 cats gathered around me. They want snack. They shall get it in about 36 minutes. What would you recommend for, oh wait, I had a super chat. Oh, where'd my super chat go? Hey, Tony Matlock, what up, dude? I missed your super, I mean, I saw it, but then I forgot about it and now I remembered it. So Tony, what up? Thank you, sir, for the $5. I appreciate that. You know, super chats go straight to the top of the line, so gotta say what up. I'm a first-time DM running his first dungeon. What way of prepping for it am I not thinking of? Thank you for the content. Well, what are you thinking of? Like, it's like, how do I answer that question? Let me just run through the entire list of things to consider. Like, I don't know what you're thinking of to begin with to be able to answer what you're not thinking of, dude. That's a good question. How do you answer that question? The important thing is to just relax and have fun. I would think of that. So you're probably a little bit like, woo, on edge or something. I mean, you should be excited too, but you're probably a little on edge, maybe a little anxious or stuff like that, because it's the first time running it and stuff. And a lot of people get anxious and stuff before they run games, you know, especially maybe their first game and stuff like that. I would remember that the goal is to have fun, for you, the dungeon master, to enjoy yourself and have fun. And then your players enjoy themselves and have fun. The goal is for everybody to play the game and have fun. That's the ultimate goal here, right? So, and it's your first time doing it. It's not a big deal if it's not super great, you know. A lot of times I suggest that first time dungeon masters or new dungeon masters just prep their players and say, hey guys, remember, new, never done it before. So, you know, if I don't do such a great job, please don't murder me, because I might not, you know. So it's okay to just be honest and transparent with that too, you know. So I don't know, there are some thoughts for you. I don't know if that's what you wanted or not, but I answered a question. All right, this cat is biting me. Squeaky, he's biting me. He's down here biting my feet. It's because he wants me to pet him, give him attention. I don't know what he wants. Hi. I'm gonna pick him up. He doesn't like being picked up. All right, next question. What would you recommend for a DM that is kind of burnt out on a campaign idea because it turned out to be too long, but now has to go through with it? Well, you don't have to go through with it. You don't have to. Let's see. You could always shortcut a campaign idea too. It can always happen faster than you'd planned. Your players don't know everything that maybe you were thinking of doing down the line. They don't know everything that would have happened or that could have happened or that you planned. You can always draw it to a close earlier than you were originally thinking. Your players should not have the campaign notes for everything. There should be a bunch of mystery and unknown involved, which allows you that wiggle room to tie things up a little sooner if you want. But there's another solution to this too. There's another solution. When you're burnt out on a campaign idea, this is one of the reasons that I enjoy having a main campaign arc and then character arcs, or even a secondary campaign arc. I've run games before where there were 2 main campaign arcs, and then there were also character arcs. And so I had a couple campaign arcs that I was interested in, and then I was developing character arcs based on my players' characters' backstories. And so at any given point in time in this game, we might be doing something about this main campaign arc, and then we might do a couple quests on that, and then we might hop over to somebody's backstory and do something based on that. And the advantage here is that because you're pursuing different arcs at any given time, you don't get burned out on one arc. That, yeah, you might get bored with it. That happens. That's one of the reasons I have different arcs. It's one of the reasons. There are lots of other reasons. That's one of the reasons. Because sometimes I have a really cool idea of like, woo, vampires! And then it's like, I'm getting tired of vampires. I'd rather do something else. Woo, beholders! There you go. It doesn't mean you don't come back to that thing. It just means you take a hiatus. There's a different arc. There's a different plot. It's like when you're reading a book. First, you read about Arya Stark doing X, Y, and Z, and then it swaps over to Brienne, and then it swaps over to Jaime Lannister. You're reading different arcs throughout the book. And so just about the time where you're just like, I'm about tired of hearing about Brienne, it pops over to Sansa. And then you're just like, oh, Sansa sucks. I wish, you know. So, but it gives you that variety, you know. And so that is something I would recommend, is trying different arcs and having different arcs running throughout your game, one. But also there's nothing wrong with bringing that particular campaign arc to a close earlier than you had planned on it. There's nothing wrong with that. You might also just ping your players and see how they're enjoying it. There's a chance they're getting bored about with it too, and they might be okay with a change. You never know until you ask. Oh, I think I had another super chat. Daniel McGee, thank you, sir, for the $5. I appreciate that. No question with that. So I'm assuming you're buying treats for my cats. Oh, look at this. You guys, look at this. Look at mommy. We have Squirty Pie. Well, Orange is like way over there. He's that little blur. You can see a little bit of him. This one right here is Squirty Pie, and then this one is Mommy. And she was cleaning her belly. She has the softest, fluffiest belly in the entire world. It's very, very nice. She doesn't like her belly being touched though. And she hates being picked up. She loves kisses though. She always wants attention. Chauncey Sharon Jr., thank you for the $1.99 super chat, dude. Love the content. Keep it up, fam. Much love, buddy. Thanks, dude. I appreciate that. Really appreciate it. Chubby cats. Hey, Dark Skull, don't call my cats chubby. It's not very nice. Green Moss, thanks for becoming a member, dude. I appreciate that. My cat. What, Squeaky? Yeah, my cats are very chubby. They have what the doctors call a weight problem. Danny says, pro tip, if you have a very easy to recognize PFP, which is like your little icon dude, don't spam. That's beautiful. Hey Danny, did you already do the first time out? Did you already get that done? Danny hasn't been around in a while, so we promised her she could do the first time out. Have you already had the honor? Has that already been taken care of? They overflow with love, Luke. Yeah, they overflow with love. Should cats be called ninja floofs? Maybe. They are very floofy. They're very floofy. Oh, she got her time out. We've had many so far. Oh, nice. You didn't get to do the first one? You guys, Danny was supposed to be allowed to do the first one. Come on, you guys. Sunny stole it from you because she doesn't love you? Penguin butt, that is unacceptable. I'm publicly reprimanding you, Penguin Butt. Oh, but she was late. Oh, she wasn't here. Danny, you got to get to work on time if you expect to get the privileges thereof. That's the way it works. All right, Penguin Butt, you're forgiven. It's on Danny. What do you think about the recent changes to racial trait? Squeaky, stop biting me. He just was biting my arm. He does this when he wants attention. He just bites me, he bites my leg, he bites my arm. And his whiskers are all like ticklish too. Now he's over here. You are a pain in the butt. What do I think about the recent changes to racial traits in Tasha's? They're stupid. I don't like them. It's like, let's make all of the races homogenous so none of them are at all special. And the only reason to allow you to like swap your ability stat changes around and stuff and to basically create whatever you want, the only reason to do that is to min max and to power game. Like that's if you want to play a half elf barbarian, do it. And yeah, the half elf does not get a whole lot of bonuses to constitution or strength, like none of them. Or you know, Squeaky, I swear, Squeaky, you're gonna get it. Stop biting me. But do it. All right, you don't need to be able to take your half elf and then swap the racial bonuses around to be able to min max it perfectly for a barbarian. The only reason to do that is to min max and make your characters more powerful. Like that's what that game change does basically. And anyone who has played 5th edition, especially dungeon masters, know firsthand, 5th edition characters do not need to become any more powerful than they already are. Out of the box, they're already super powerful and impossible to kill in many cases. It's not like you got to make them more powerful. And it's just really annoying. Let's make all of the races meaningless and homogenous and have zero meaning whatsoever, you know, except for flavor, I suppose. I don't know. It feels like it's just kind of taking the heart out of parts of the game. I don't know. That's my personal thoughts on it. There you go. That's part of the stupid Tasha's. Well, most of Tasha's is worthless, but we'll just not talk about that. and some of the new character options are very powerful. Holy crap balls. I was looking at one of my players, Joe, was showing me one of the sorcerer. I think it was a sorcerer option. And you can bait. I'm gonna get that cat. I'm gonna pick him up. He does not like being picked up. Come here, Squeaky. He's gonna go on camera. Come here, Squeaky. He's my Squeaky. Come here, Squeaky. He knows I'm gonna pick him up too. Come here, Squeaky. Baby. Oh yeah. He is a big tubber. This is the guy right here. He has been biting me. He has been bothering me the whole stream. This is the guy. Yeah, he does not like being picked up. That was his punishment. His punishment was to get picked up. And he's coming right back too. He's coming right back to bother me. What a jerk. Man. What was I saying? I forgot what I was saying. Crap. What was it? Hold on a second. This stupid book. By the way, also, by far the worst cover, the worst alt cover they ever made so far for 5th edition. I hate the cover. I really want to know what it was now. Now you got me curious. I think it was a sorcerer. Or was it the sorcerer? Maybe it was, no, it must have been something else. Maybe it was something else. Was it a druid? No, I swear it was a sorcerer. It was basically, maybe somebody will remember. Essentially, what the class could do is they could summon a companion of some sorts, and that companion, or the thing they could summon, the creature they could summon, was able to teleport every single round of combat and they could take with them companions of the sorcerer or whoever the class was. Teleport every round and take people with you. Does anybody remember Wildfire Druid? Is that what it was? Oh, nah. Wildfire Druid. That might be it. That sounds familiar. I think it was a fire thing. Let's take a look. 39. Wildfire Druid. Wildfire Druid. Yes, that's it. It was Wildfire Druid. I'm gonna put this up here so we can take a look at this. I just have the book here. Makes it convenient. So you can kind of see this here. But basically, right here's the thing. As an action, the spirit and each willing creature of your choice within 5 feet of it can teleport up to 15 feet to unoccupied spaces you can see. This is insanely powerful. This is so powerful. Battlefield control, positioning, and movement in combat is very powerful. Do you want to know the fastest way to shut down a wizard? Get next to him and start whacking him. This right here is so powerful. Even out of combat, overcoming obstacles, you know, cliffs, pits, anything. This is very super crazy powerful. Every single round, automatic teleport. Everybody can teleport with them. That's way crazy. Way crazy. So I saw that and I was just like, dude, these people gotta stop smoking this stuff, man. I don't know, it's just so powerful. I mean, players like that crap, but DMs have to deal with it. I don't know, man. All right. Wildfire Druid is massively OP. Oh yeah, 100%. So my player Joe wanted to play it and I was like, okay, look, I can tell you right now, dude, that this is probably gonna get nerfed, you know? And he's like, could we just test it out as is? And I'm like, we can, but it's not gonna last very long. So brace yourself. What do you think about switching characters mid-campaign? I do it all the time, usually when I die. I had a player do this recently. I told him yes out of impulse. Any advice? Dude, here's the thing. I want my players to have fun. And when you lose interest in a character and you're no longer enjoying a character and you want to play a new character, to be told basically to suck it up for 2 more years, because campaigns last a long time. My campaigns usually last 3 years, maybe, to go to level 1 to 20. It's gonna take a while. So to tell somebody that, yo, dude, I understand you don't like playing your bard, but you're gonna have to suck it up until we get done with this campaign, that's not fun for that player. And not only is it not fun and not enjoyable to have to play something you're not enjoying so much for 2 more years, but they could just start being reckless and careless and kill themselves and suicide themselves and stuff. And it's not so much, my argument is not everything should revolve around and support players having their fun. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not a believer in the whole, like, if it's fun for the players, it's okay and you should do it. I'm not trying to say that. All I'm saying is that the impact to the game for a character, for a player to change their character is minimal. As long as it doesn't happen too frequently, having a player switch out a character and bring a new character in is not a big deal. It's very easy to deal with. I deal with it frequently enough that I know that it's not hard. So to deny them to be able to play something that they're more interested in and stop playing something that they're not interested in anymore is just kind of silly when pulling in a new character of theirs is really easy to do. Now, if you had, there is a caveat here, because there are some players who, like, every week are like, woo, I got a new idea. I got a new character I want to play. Oh yeah. And it's like every week they want to play a new character. No. That's when you say, no, there are going to be some limits around here because we're not doing this every week. Because there are some players who just, they have this theory, they have this craft, these theory building crafting things, and they want to craft something and then play it for a game session, craft something else and then play it for a game session, and if you let them, they'll play a new character every single game session, and that starts to get really burdensome on the dungeon master very fast. So I'm not saying do that. So there got to be some reasons and limits there, you know. But if it's within reason, then yeah, let them change and play a new character. Do you know of any more useful templates like the Half Dragon one in the monster manual for changing up monsters a bit? Thanks. I don't know. I could do a Google search, see if there are any homebrewed templates out there. But I don't know any of offhand. No. How would you introduce a new group of players to each other? I would get us all together at our first game session, probably at session 0. And I would say, hey, Tim, this is Jim Bob, and Jim Bob, this is Susie, and Jack and Joe. All right, let's do a little, let's do a little thing where we go around the table and just tell everybody your names, tell people how, your experience with gaming and stuff, and why if you're new to D&D or you've been playing it a long time or something, just tell us what interests you about it and stuff, so we kind of get to know each other, just some basic things like that, so we can just do a basic intro of people around the table. I wouldn't get too involved in it. You don't have to do like some crazy team building thing where you like all grab each other's shoulders and sit down in a circle on each other so that you can like, oh, we're learning trust and stuff. Don't get too stupid about it. But just like a basic intro and stuff so the players get to know each other, and then jump into the game and start playing the game. You're gonna get to know each other very, very fast, just playing the game. And that's what's great about D&D and other games, tabletop games, or any games where people come together and play, is that you have the framework and structure of the game that brings you together to play, and then over the course of playing the game, you get to know each other, and a lot of times you become friends. And that's what I love about games. D&D is great at this. Basic Monopoly or Risk or Settlers of Catan, any type of board game where people come and play are great for this sort of thing. And that's one of the things I love about D&D. I remember when I used to be a missionary down in Central America, and what groups of people would like to do, they would just like to go out in large groups and just go to a restaurant for like 2 hours and talk. They just sit there and talk. And I'm just like, I couldn't take that. Like, I'm a pretty outgoing, sociable like dude and stuff, but just 2 hours just talking about like chit chat, small talk, dude, I couldn't do that crap. So give me a game. Let's take that same group of people and let's go play games together. And we're going to have the same stuff happening. We're going to have the same relationships being built. We're going to be talking about stuff. We're going to have a game that brings us together and serves as that like focal point, of like the social interaction. So I don't know. That was a weird tangent, but yeah, giddy up. Why would you be upset that people want to min-max a character? I'm not. I'm a min-maxer myself. So I don't get upset about it. No. If your comment or your question is based upon my thoughts about the racial changes, they're basically homogenizing races and making your racial decisions meaningless. For all intents and purposes, to appease what? To appease one small segment of people who like to min-max, and I don't like that idea. So it has less to do with min-maxing, and it has more to do with probably the reasons or their motivations in making that change. It just seems very dumb. All right. During combat, I find it stressful to keep track of even a few monster stats, and it can be hard to keep interesting without tearing my hair out. What's a good strategy to keep track of stuff? So if keeping track of monster stat blocks is difficult, then use fewer different types of monsters. Just use one type of monster. It's not ideal. Combats that only feature one type of monster are not usually the most interesting types, but you have to consider your limitations as a person and as a dungeon master. And if running multiple monster types is challenging for you and frustrating and it's not enjoyable for you, then don't do it. Just use one. Use one monster type. And so that's all you got to keep track of during a combat. Make your life easy, make your job easy. There's nothing wrong with that. So I would just do that. But one trick that I do, I mean, we're playing online right now, so I have D&D Beyond. It's very expensive, but I have it. And I have multiple tabs and each of them has a monster type. And so when it's that monster's turn, I just go to that tab and there's the stat block and I just run the monster. I will also, prior to a game, I will read up on and review the monster stat blocks that I think are going to get used during the game. You never really know. You make plans, but who knows? That way I'm familiar with them and I have some tactics and strategies in mind too. For spellcasters, many times I will, prior to the game, I will look over their spells and I will decide which spells are the ones that I'm probably going to try to cast the most. And yes, they're usually the most powerful ones because a spellcaster is going to die in about 2 or 3 rounds. And so I had better darn well use their best spells first. So I do a little planning and preparation around their stat blocks so that when the game time comes, I'm already familiar with them and it's easier for me to run them. If I'm playing in person, I use little cards that have the stat blocks on them and I put the cards in front of me on the table so that I can quickly reference them, so that I'm not like flipping through the monster manual from page to page going back and forth. It's miserable to do that. There, it's answered. Chief Matt says his mom is an orc. Wow, that's so cool, dude. That's so cool. I wish my mom were an orc. I think. Hey, moderators, are you having fun? I'm a first-time Dungeon Master. Oh, whoops, I already answered that one. Holy crap. That's a lot of questions. How do you choose monsters for dungeons or encounters? I flip through the monster manual, Volo's Guide to Monsters, Mordecai's Tome of Foes, until I find one that I think is interesting, that I like, and then I will... That's how I choose them. It's just based upon something that I find, usually something that I've not used before, that sounds interesting and fun, and then I create something based on it. It's not a complex process. It's really very simple. It's what motivates me, what gets me excited, what do I feel inspired. I flip through it and I'm just like, boom, that monster looks cool. Let's do something with that. And there you go. And then I make an adventure around that. So it's not a complicated process, but it's based upon what I think is cool and fun, you know, what inspires me. And then obviously I'm going to create an adventure that my players are going to like, you know. But that's the basic process. This is nothing fancy. Do you ever have players that make their backstories in such a way that conflicts with the party's fun, such as hating undead so they'll never work with an undead creature? I don't know if I've ever had that happen before. If your question is what to do with about that sort of thing, you can always ask your player. So you can always ask your player to, they have to get along with the people they're adventuring with. They have to get along with the people they're adventuring with, or they're not going to adventure with them probably. So hopefully most players understand that they're working together as a group and they're going to put aside some of these petty squabbling things, and hopefully they can be, you know, better players and better role players because of that, you know. But if a player is making a super big, huge issue and they're role playing their character faithfully, and it's becoming clear that it's going to be an issue in the group, and if they're using the reasoning of that's what my character would do, then it's not unreasonable to ask them to change something so that they can actually play the game in peace and harmony with the other players. Because it's not just a question of role-playing our characters faithfully. We are also interacting with other human beings that sit around a table with us. And so we need to act like decent people too. So it's not just like, this is my character, I'm gonna role-play him, and this is what his backstory is, so this is what I'm doing. No, that's not the only consideration you have. You have upon you, it is incumbent upon you to be a good human being to the other human beings that are sitting around the table at you, and to take in consideration what they would like around here as well, not just what you want and what you want to do. And so it's not wrong to ask a player to change something if it's needed to preserve harmony in the group. You know, I've done that before. And I've made certain things not allowable in my games to preserve harmony and not have players get mad at each other out of character, such as not stealing from each other, not backstabbing each other, things like that, because players get upset about that, and then you got drama, and then you got people fighting, and then you got resentment, and you got bitterness, and then guess who gets to deal with all that crap? Yeah, I don't go there. Luke, I have a problem with my players where they have a difficult time getting into a game and staying in. The idle chit chat before and during disrupts the game. How do I fix this? Do you have players that are there to play D&D? That is the reason they're there to play D&D? Or are they a bunch of friends that you have convinced to get together to play D&D with you? Many times, when I don't know what your situation is, but many times when we convince our friends to come play D&D, this is what you get. They're there for the social thing. They just want to hang out with their friends and talk and goof around and stuff. They don't really care about playing the game. It's not that big of a deal. They're not super motivated to do it. They said yes because you asked them and you're their friend. And so they're not going to take it super seriously. They're going to chit chat. They're going to goof around. They're going to talk about things. So that is something that happens when you just invite friends to play D&D. It can easily happen. One of the reasons I love playing with strangers, who usually become friends, but we get together because of D&D, and then we're all there to play D&D, and then we just play D&D and we're down to business. Now, you can get situations where you have players who just want to chit chat. They could be chit chatting about D&D. I have a game right now where I have one player who always wants to chit chat. He's talking about D&D and stuff related to D&D, but it distracts from the game because instead of playing the game, he wants to talk about this module, that thing and the other over here. And as a dungeon master, I got to quiet him down because all these other players want to play the game. They don't want to sit here and chit chat about this stuff, but it sounds like you have a group of people that just want to sit there and chit chat. So I'm wondering, what would Luke do? What would Luke do if I had a group of players who only wanted to chit chat about stuff and weren't super interested in playing the game, and were constantly getting distracted and allowing their side conversations to take them away from the game? I would probably just be pretty blunt with them and be like, hey guys, do you want to play this game or not? Do you want to play this game or not? If you don't, that's fine. We don't have to. We don't have to play this game. We could play another game where you guys could just go sit on the couch and you could all chit chat and stuff. But if you want to play the game, let's play the game. If you don't want to play the game, okay, but then let's not play the game. But I would probably have a very straightforward conversation with them and figure out, do you want to play this game or not? Here's the thing. I cannot force the players to want to play the game. Like, how am I going to be like, twist their hearts and minds so that they now have like an intense desire to play D&D and concentrate and have fun doing so? It's like, I can't do that. That lies outside of the scope of my power as a dungeon master or as a human being to like change their desires and stuff. You know, now could I run an amazing game of D&D that's so much fun that they suddenly change their interest and want to play? Sure, that's possible. But you got to get there first, and it sounds like their chit-chatting is holding you back from that. So I'd probably just ask them, do you guys really want to play D&D or not? And if they don't, great. They can go do something else. You don't have to play D&D with them. Here's the beautiful thing. As a dungeon master, you hold a lot of the power, dude. If you advertise for a game, there are always players looking for a game. Always. As a dungeon master, you can always find players for your game. You hold all the cards. You have all the power. You're the one who is willing to run the game. Most people aren't willing to run the game. Most people will just sit around, they want to be a player, and they'll wait and hope they can find a game. But if you're willing to run a game and you have a group of players that don't even want to play, then consider finding players who want to play the game. If you want to run D&D and play D&D, then find players who want to play D&D too. That's something worth considering. I'm not saying drop them. I'm saying have a conversation with them And if it turns out that they don't want to play D&D, well, then it's okay. Find some people who do want to play D&D. Like, you're the dungeon master. You can find new players. It's not hard. It's not hard. You can always find players. There are thousands of players out there who are just sitting in forums waiting for a game posting to come up so they can join it. It takes about 3 days to find a full group on Discord. Yes. Oh, in my Discord, the looking for group channel. Yeah. So my Discord, there's a link to my Discord. My moderator just dropped it. We have a looking for games, I think it's called, channel, and people post there all the time and find games there all the time. So it's the easiest thing in the world. And if you're the dungeon master, you hold the cards. It's not hard to find a group. You just can't. You can't be fixated on only playing with your friends. You have to be willing to play with people you don't know. And if that's an impediment for you, well, then you're kind of stuck. Do you start your campaigns with a simple dungeon crawl and then build a story from there, or do you write a whole story? I don't write stories for my D&D games. I've never written a story for my D&D games. I will have an idea. I'll know a villain. I'll know what their motivations are. I'll know who their minions are. I'll have an idea of who their lieutenants are. I'll know what they're trying to do in the game world. I'll know the conflict that is arising from their actions in the game world. I'll have an idea of possible adventures that might happen. But these are all just basic high-level ideas. I never write a story. I never write a plot. None of that, any of that. So I will have some dude, let's say he's a vampire lord or something, and then let's pretend that one of his lieutenants is a necromancer who is trying to raise zombies up from a graveyard. Well, that's my first adventure. The first adventure is the City Watch come to them and are like, hey, bodies are missing from the graveyard and we can't figure out what's going on. We need you to help. And then the adventurers go and they're like, oh yeah, somebody's stealing the bodies. Let's track them down. Oh, they find a cave. Oh, it's a necromancer's cave. We have to fight some zombies. And then we have to fight the necromancer. Oh, and then we capture the necromancer and we interrogate him. And it turns out the necromancer is working for this dude over here. Okay, well, let's go track that dude down. And it just starts there. And then it goes from there. And the thing is that I have this big idea in mind, but along the way, what's going to happen, invariably what's going to happen, is your players will do other things, cause other problems, make decisions that have consequences, which result in different adventures. Different things can happen along the way, and there might be different arcs that happen. So I'm never beholden to a specific vision for a campaign. I'm always open to things changing course along the course of play of the game, and it's more fun that way. So I'll have a high level idea in mind, but nothing very, very super concrete. Toby, thank you, sir, for a $5 super chat from 11 minutes ago. I totally missed that. I'm sorry, dude. I hope you're still here. He's like, Luke ignored me. I'm out of here. Toby says, love the vids. Question. Thank you, sir. What is your proudest moment as a GM? Mine is getting 2 of my players behind the DM screen. My proudest moment? Gosh. I don't know, dude. I don't usually think about that sort of thing. I don't know. It's like one of those questions where you should have like a cool little story where you're like, oh yeah, dude, this. I don't know, man. I mean, I'm gonna have to piggyback off from what you said because I'm drawing blanks here. You mentioned getting 2 of your players behind the DM screen. I had a player once, Matt, who began playing D&D with me, and I think he might have been a player before he joined my group, but I'm not sure. But I know that he had never been a dungeon master before he started playing with me. And then I took a little break for that campaign, and he DM'd for several game sessions, and he did an amazing job dungeon mastering. He did a really good job. And so that was cool. That was cool to see somebody who had never been a dungeon master before, who was simply a player in my game. And then when it was his turn to be a dungeon master, he did a really good job of it. So that was cool. Who knows? He might have just had it in him, It could have been he paid attention to what I was doing and then keyed off from some of that stuff. I don't know, but he did a really, really good job. So that's cool. Mr. GOR, thank you, sir, for becoming a member. Appreciate that. Look at that coffee cup. That coffee cup is empty. It's so empty. I need more. It's definitely better to over prep than under prep. We have a little cat fight going on right here, ladies and gentlemen. This is why you watch my streams and not anybody else's, because nowhere else do you get to bet on cats. So who's gonna put money on Squeaky? Uh oh, look at that. Squirty Pie's already running away. She takes off. Squeaky is a bully. He is a big fat tub. He just pushes his little sister around. Squeaky, what are you doing to your sister? Mommy comes over here. You. He just kicked her butt. That's awesome. Step into the arena. Team Squeaky. Oh, always bet on Squeaky. Always bet on Squeaky. I think I have only seen Squirty Pie win one of their little friendly fights maybe once or twice. Ever. Well, Squeaky has like 5 pounds on her. Squeaky probably weighs about 18 pounds or so. And Squirty Pie probably weighs maybe 5 less than that. 12? 13? So he's got weight, man. And Squirty Pie is a baby. She just whines and screams and cries. She can't take it. So always bet on Squeaky. Always. The coffee elemental is here. You're going to have to roll initiative if you don't refill the coffee soon. Oh dear. We should just do a cat strike, and then I'll get some more coffee too. All right, here we go. This is why all these cats are here. They're just waiting for this. Give them a cat strike. It's time for the cat strike. I have other cats in the house. I'm trying to get them to come down here. No. I got nothing. There you go. Enjoy the cats. Did we get anybody in the box yet? Did anybody go in the box? Now I know where the idea of fat cat comes from. Oh, we gotta, well, somebody will go in the box. It's just a matter of time. It's usually orange, but maybe we'll get, well, Squeaky always goes in there too. Even if orange has already gone in the box and eaten everything, Squeaky will still go in there to double check. So let's see who goes over there. Somebody's gonna go in. Somebody's gotta check the, oh, uh-oh, uh-oh. Ooh, look at Squirty Pie. She's like, huh? There we go. Your Ravioli, yeah, Ravioli likes the, he's not, what do you mean your boy? What do you mean your boy, Ed? Here comes Squeaky, he's gonna go in too. He's like, hey, what's going on in there? You got something in there? I should take a look. How about you get out of there and I'll go in. See, look at now, Squeaky's gonna double check. He always does this. He's gotta double check and make sure nothing was missed. Make sure that we get all the treats in there. I don't know what the thing with cats in boxes is. They always go in there, man. What's up, Munchgum? Your dog is enjoying watching my cats? Oh, I bet, dude. I bet. He's like, oh, lunchtime. You have an elaborate heist plan to liberate Ravioli? Dude, Ravioli lives the fat life. He just lazes around, he gets his belly rubbed when he wants it, he eats food. Why catfolk aren't an official race? Well, Tabaxi, they have Tabaxi. Tabaxi are basically the equivalent of catfolk in 5th edition. The box equals a safe space for cats? Something like that, yeah. What's up, Connor? How you doing, buddy? Someday he will perfectly occupy the entire box's space. That's awesome. Tabaxi are basically every cat stereotype shoved into a playable race. Yeah. I don't know why I've never played a Tabaxi before. Huh. I need to do that. All right, let's hit some questions here. Like the cats are having fun. Where do you get the ideas and inspirations for adventures, plot hooks, and similar? Most of the time, I just make them up when I think about them. However, I can tell you that I've been reading the Eberron campaign setting, and even if you don't run Eberron and you don't care about Eberron, the Eberron campaign setting has ideas for adventures with plot hooks and stuff like that, like all over the place. I'm constantly noticing they did such a great job designing the Eberron campaign setting for Dungeon Masters to make it easy for you to give you the information you need and like the little plot hooks and adventure ideas for you to craft campaigns and stuff. And so like I've noticed constantly that stuff in there. And so I feel like if I ever got to a point where I needed to make an adventure and I didn't have some sort of inspiration, or I just wanted to get a different idea that maybe is outside of what I would normally do as a dungeon master, I would probably go there and look at some of those tables in there. They have like random tables and stuff, but I would just pick the one that I want, you know? So there's a lot of cool stuff in there. So I will definitely, I mean, I highly recommend the Eberron campaign setting for a variety of reasons. And that's just one of the things that I like about that campaign setting. The people who worked on the Eberron campaign setting did an amazing job. I've found nothing in there worthy complaining about. And believe me, I complain about a lot of stuff. But everything in there has been really tight so far. How important is it to include parts from all my players' backstories? I would call it moderately important. Dude, you can run an entire campaign that your players love and enjoy and never include anything from their backstories. It is not a requirement. It is not something that you have to do, and that if you don't do it, the game will suck. You can run an amazing game and never touch their backstories, never use anything from their backstories. It's not a requirement. There are some things that are requirements for a game. Using stuff from their backstories is not a requirement. Now, if you use things from their backstories, will that elevate the quality of your game? Usually, yes. Will it make your game better? Usually, yes. Will it make your players more engaged and interested in what's going on? Usually, yes. Will your players enjoy it and have fun more and like you and appreciate the fact that you use something from their backstories? Usually, yes. So it's a good thing to do. By no means a requirement. And I've run games before where I don't touch anything from backstories. I'm running Curse of Strahd right now. We're running a module, and most of the stuff from backstories kind of doesn't apply, especially in that particular module, because they've literally been pulled into a different demi-plane where all of these different people and stuff from their history and their backstory and past don't matter. They don't matter, you know. So it's not a requirement, but it's a good idea to consider doing it. And for most of my games, I for sure use stuff from backstories. Who's the weirdo counting bodies at the cemetery? You don't count gravestones when you go to the cemetery? Like when I go to the cemetery, it doesn't intrigue you how many people are buried there total? I think you might be the outlier, Isaac. I think most people are counting bodies. Yeah. I think you just need to get on board. Do you read the whole module before running it? And do you usually change a lot? Do I read the whole module before running it? Almost always no. I made an exception with Curse of Strahd because of the way that I wanted to run Curse of Strahd, because I was planning on running it very sandboxy, which means that people can basically kind of almost do whatever. I give my players in Curse of Strahd like tons of plot hooks, tons of different stuff to do. They have a list of things that they can go do. Because of the way I wanted to run it, I made it a point to read it, and it's not a very long module, by the way, either. I made a point to read it first, but for the majority of modules, I am not. There is no way. Waterdeep Dungeon of the Mad Mage. This is an over 300-page long module. And let me emphasize how dense this module is. There is crap tons of material in here, levels 5 to level 20. Tons of stuff in here. And there's not very much read aloud text either, which makes the writing even more dense. So there's a lot of crap in here. You're gonna read this whole thing before running it? You could. Take you a year to read it or something, and you're gonna forget most of it by the time you get ready to run it again. So no, I don't necessarily read the whole module before running it. That said, I don't run a whole bunch of modules. Modules are not my thing. I usually run homebrew for my groups. That's my preference. I usually enjoy that more than running modules. Now, sometimes I will get hyped up and excited to run a module, like I wanted to run Curse of Strahd. And there's probably some other modules that I'll, run in the future, but homebrew are generally what I mostly tend to do. But I don't need to read the whole module. Not 5th edition modules. Now, I can't speak to modules for previous editions. I don't know how well they were written, how well they were organized and stuff. Sometimes I glance through these old modules, and I wonder, quality of writing skills that people possessed at that time, or at least people on staff. But I don't know. 5th edition modules usually don't need that. I answered that question. Is the Candlekeep Mysteries good? It hasn't been released yet, has it? It's literally not planned for release for a little bit. Isn't it coming out in April or something? April or something? When is it coming out? Like, so nobody knows. Nobody knows. You know nothing about it except for what Wizards chooses to tell people. And I guarantee you they're only telling people good things. March? Is it March? Okay. That means I have to pre-order it. That means I have to get that on pre-order at my game shop. Does it have an alt cover? Does anybody know? Does it have an alt cover? I think it did. I think it does have an alt cover. I'm a sucker for the alt covers. I just want all of the alt covers, even when they suck. Like, even Tasha's so horrible. I still bought the alt cover. Does? Okay, cool. If a player dies or wants to change characters, how important is it for their introduction to make sense versus just throwing their new character into the room with the other PCs? I think I already ranted on this once over on Twitch. I'm pretty sure I did. Sophie, are you here still? She can attest to this. So I always emphasize getting a player into the action as quickly as possible. Look, they already died. They already had to create a new character. Do you need to punish them further by having them sit there for 2 hours or waiting until the next game session to be able to play the game again? Like, how many burning coals do you want to heap on their head before you feel that they should be contrite enough and are able to jump back in the game and play? So I always prioritize getting their butts back in the action and playing the game as quickly as possible. If their character dies and they have a backup, let's go. I'm gonna get them in probably within the next 5 or 10 minutes, as fast as I can. If they need to create a new character, as soon as they have that new character created, boom, we're gonna go. Story, I could care less about story in this situation. What I want is I want my player in the game playing the game, because that's why they came to D&D night. They did not come to D&D night, well, most of my players, and most players probably, didn't come to D&D night to have a perfect story that made perfect sense and that was wonderful and that they'd remember for years to come. Now they like telling cool stories to their friends and they want cool stuff to happen, right? But in the moment, what they really want more than likely is to play the game. So let's get them back into the game. Let's get them having fun and doing stuff and not just sitting there waiting for me, the dungeon master, to decide when's the perfect way and the perfect moment to get them back in the story and back in the game. So I am going to make up some excuse. It might be stupid, it might be ridiculous, I don't care. Okay, you guys open a door and you find lying on the ground a half-elf in armor, and there's a couple empty bottles next to him. What do you guys do? Oh, let's wake him up. You wake him up, and that's the new character, by the way. You wake him up, and it turns out that he got slobbering drunk and passed out here, and you just found him like this. Congratulations, you've just met your new buddy. He's the guy gonna be traveling with you. Was that a cool introduction? Probably not. I just made it up in 2 seconds. How can that possibly be a cool introduction? But you know what it was? It was a way for somebody who just lost a character and had to make a new character to get back in the game and play the game. Now, was it a perfect, beautiful story? No, dude. I don't run D&D. I don't play D&D to create stories. It's not my game. That's not my goal. My goal is to run a game, to have fun with my friends, to play D&D, to create monsters, to create dungeons and see what the players do and role play and stuff. That's my goal. If my goal were to create a story, I'd be writing books. Now, does a story result when you play the game? Yeah. Like, I create a situation, I create an adventure, the players go play that game, that adventure, and a story results. And when the game session is over, we're going to be able to tell a story about what happened during the game session. But my goal marching into it is not to tell a cool story. That's not my goal as a dungeon master. In my opinion, it shouldn't be the goal of a dungeon master. The goal is to run a game, to have fun with your friends and play a game. And then, yeah, a story's going to result. A lot of times it's a fun story. A lot of times it's a cool story. But my goal is not to create a story. If I want to create a story, I'm going to write a book. That's what I'm going to do. So, definitely get the new character back into action as fast as possible. The story doesn't make sense. Who cares? Just play the game. So that's how I land on that topic. Can I write a book? I don't want to write a book. Do you guys know how dumb writing books is? I'm sorry. I know there are some people who like it. Let me explain how writing books works. You spend months writing a manuscript, and then you try to get it published. A lot of times you got to get an agent. A lot of times you have to submit query letters to multiple agents, try to get an agent. Let's say that you have an agent. Okay, now you got to get it published. You got to go to publishing houses. You got to do this. You got to get a contract. You're going to get an advance. You got to do these things. Okay, finally you get the book published. Finally the book is published, and it starts selling copies. What do books sell for? $7, big thick book, maybe $8. $8 for a book. Okay, and you spent, if you're selling ebooks, what are you going to get? $4.99 or something? And you spent months and months, maybe a year or more of your life trying to get this book published. And it's going to sell how many copies? If it even gets published, if anybody ever publishes it, how many copies is it going to sell? 1,000, 2,000? Most books don't sell that many copies. You know how much you're going to see of that? You're probably going to see the advance that you got from the whole publishing house. The chances of anything ever happening with that are so low and so tiny. And even if it does take off, and even if you start selling copies, what's your cut on a book? You know, $2.50, maybe $5 if it's like a hard, I don't know. What's your cut on that? You know, and that represents a year of your life. That's crazy. That's crazy. Now, if you compare a published book like that to other things, compare it to game products. Compare it to a game product. Okay, I just published, and it's not quite done yet, it's not published yet, but I just did a Kickstarter for a module. It's a little over 200 pages or so, 250 or something like that. And it took me several months to write, lots of work, lots of effort into it. But guess what? It's gonna sell for at least $50, probably more than that. It's gonna be the hardcover price. And the PDF is gonna go for $25. I'm going to spend months and months of my life writing something. It is not going to be a novel. It is not going to be a novel. It is going to be a product that's going to, you know, sell for a little bit higher. It's just the way it's going to be. No way I'm going to write a book. Considering how hard it is to be successful writing books, there's no stinking way. All right. Sorry for anybody who's trying to get published. Oh, I read books too. I just don't want to write them. The gauntlet of pain is too deep for me. It's no way. All right, moving on. All right, Miscellaneous says, hey, it's my first time being a dungeon master and I have some questions. What's the best amount of people to have, and what are some must-have things like books, etc.? There's not really a best amount of people to have in your group, but 4 is not a bad number. I'd go with 4. If it's your first time and you're not sure, 4 is a good number of players to have. Things you need, you really just probably need the player handbook, maybe the Dungeon Master Guide, and the Monster Manual. If you have those 3 things, you have some dice, and you have pencil and paper, that's really all you really need. and everything else is just extra. So those are your basic essentials, just starting to be a dungeon master. How do you feel about players changing the damage type of spells? For example, Fireball becoming Lightning Ball to be more in flavor for the character. Does it make spells more powerful? In principle, I have no problem at all with that. I do this all the time for my enemy spellcasters. Ice Ball, somebody casts, if I'm running a spellcaster who is themed around ice, the ice elements, they basically just cast a fireball, but I describe it as ice, and it's cold damage. I do that all the time, constantly. You could do a lightning ball, it's the same thing. What I would say, if a character is doing it, if it's for a player, their character should choose one version of it. So instead of having a fireball, they have a lightning ball, and that's it. They're not, if they're able to change the elements however they want when they cast the spell, now that becomes way powerful, because then they can choose different elements based upon the different monsters that they're playing against, and that's really, 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 really powerful. So I wouldn't do that, but allowing them to say, hey, instead of a fireball, I'm gonna have a lightning ball or an ice ball, perfectly fine, no problem whatsoever. Be careful. If you're going into, let's say you're gonna go play Descent into Avernus, say, and your players are like, you know, I don't really want to be a fire themed guy. I kind of want to be, well, let's see. I mean, let me metagame a little bit here. Let me see. Devils are typically immune to cold and fire. Those are the two immunities, and I think maybe poison as well. So I probably don't want to pick those. Thunder damage. That's what I'm gonna do. I want to create a spellcaster who specializes in thunder damage and have flavor all of my spells for thunder damage. So you do got to be careful about the metagame, right? If your players know, my players kind of did this a little bit for Curse of Strahd. They knew they were playing Curse of Strahd, and I can't help but notice that their characters are pretty well designed for Curse of Strahd. Not all of them. In fact, you know what? Let me think about this. I would say out of the 5 players, probably 2 of them brought characters that were really well designed for Curse of Strahd. So there was a metagame thing going on there. I'm not going to deny that. So I would, don't be stupid. Use your brain. Be cognizant of the fact that happens, you know, but usually not an issue. Heather, thank you for becoming a member. Appreciate that. I like to go overboard in world building. And I was wondering how much world building is too much world building. Like, I'll make in-depth instructions for how to calculate the weather each day. Squid, you said at the very beginning that you like world building. If you are enjoying it and you are having fun world building, then who cares? You're enjoying yourself doing it. That's fine, man. Now, you probably are aware that much of it will never see the light of day. Your players are never going to go to all the different places you design. A lot of your world building is not really going to get used a whole lot. You'll have all these ideas in your head, and yes, those will come through as you're running the game. Like, the more I know about Forgotten Realms, when I'm running Forgotten Realms, I can pull on that knowledge. Even if they're not in a specific location, I can talk about, oh, the Shadow Wizards or something, you know what I mean? So it's not a total waste, but as long as you know that most of it's probably not gonna, but you're doing it for yourself because you enjoy doing it, then who cares? Doesn't matter what like arbitrary like designation someone puts on too much or too little or something. Like, you do whatever you want to do. Now, if you didn't enjoy world building and you found it dreary and burdensome, well, that's a different conversation, obviously. You know, but you like doing it, you enjoy doing it, so whatever. Have fun, dude. Have fun. William says, I have had a group ask me if I would run a high level one shot 17 plus, and I have no idea how I would plan around that. because the range of what players could sit down with is huge. Any tips? Yeah, I would just do it. Just do your best. Like, design an adventure for level 17 plus and just run it. It's a one shot. What's the worst that's gonna happen? It's like one game session or two or something, but it's one adventure. So if you design it and they sit down with stuff that, whatever, it doesn't matter. I would just run it, dude. It's a one shot. You take a stab at it, you play it, and, you know, try to have fun. I wouldn't fret too much over it, you know. When it's an ongoing campaign and there's a little bit of, like, you know, it's gonna last a while and stuff, I worry about that a little bit more, you know what I mean? But for a one shot, friends want, here's the thing, dude. I almost guarantee you that your friends, your players, want you to run a one shot at level 17 plus because they never get to play the game with characters that are high level. And they just want to play characters that are high level. They want to use the cool magic stuff, the spells, the magic items. They want to have that level of power. They want to do these cool things because they never get to do it in their normal campaign, because very few groups ever get to that level. Either the group falls apart within a few months or whatever, or the campaign ends at like level 12 or 15, because modules mostly end at level 12 or 15. But they never get to play at high level. So more than likely your players' motivations are simply they want to play high level characters because it is fun and cool. So don't worry too much about your prep and the adventure. Do the best you can and just run it for them, because they just want to play those characters. I guarantee you that's their motivation. And if they get to play their cool characters at high level, they're going to have fun. You know, even if you know, you've never run that high level before and your prep is not adequate and stuff, I would just go for it and just have fun. Do the best you can. Nobody can ask more of you. Coffee. I got a little bit left. I got a little bit of coffee left, Isaac. It's a little bit. How do I handle story hogging players? You tell them to be quiet and let other people play the game too. That's it. That's it. Hey, John. Hey, John. Hey, John. John. Woo. Yeah. Yo, dude. Did you give other people a chance to play the game too? Like, I know you're into it. You're having fun. But you're kind of taking up a lot of the table here, and the other players aren't getting an opportunity to like participate and play. So yeah. If you can do that conversation in private, it's probably better. You know, but shoot, dude, if you got to call them out because they just won't shut up and let other people play the game, then you got to do what you got to do, you know. But yeah, it's a conversation. It's talking with them in a nice, diplomatic, polite way. You know, like I say things in a way for entertainment value sometimes on stream or in my videos and stuff. But obviously you want to be nice about it and polite and diplomatic with people when you talk to them, you know. You don't want to be just like, hey, yo, shut up, let other people play the game. That's never gonna go well. It's never gonna go well. Jordan Allen, thank you for becoming a member, man. Appreciate that. Yeah, do the compliment sandwich. Exactly. Love the enthusiasm, Dave, but there are 4 other players at the table that want to play. Yeah, I mean, you do want to emphasize and your appreciation for their enthusiasm and stuff. I mean, that's a good thing, you know. You having enthusiastic players is always something you want, you know. But they gotta give other people the chance to play the game. Has a character ever tried to make up a history about your world while in character, saying things that might impact what you had planned? I don't think that's ever happened. What would I do if they did that? They would have to be making up something super sweeping. If it's going to impact something that I had planned, because my plans are all high level. If they were trying to make big historical changes, I would probably just be like, whoa, hold on a second here. Let's talk about this first. But if they want to like insert little tiny things, I don't think that's too big of a deal, but I would appreciate it if they spoke with me first. If they spoke with me first and we kind of had a conversation and I was okay with it. I don't think that I would necessarily want them just making things up on the fly as we go, unless I had set the precedent with my group that that is a thing and that we're going to be collaboratively creating this world together. But because you could do that if you wanted to. So there are different ways you can handle that. Connor says, I love the idea of incorporating puzzles, but I am horrible at the mechanics. Are there any resources to help with this? Why? It's funny you should ask about that. It's almost like this was a plant. It's almost like this was a plant. So I publish a monthly PDF out to my patrons, and we have in March, we're going to be having puzzles coming out. So every month, my patrons get a PDF full of Dungeon Master resources, adventures, entire 5th edition adventures, traps, puzzles, NPCs, just a whole bunch of cool stuff. And we have professional maps here made for virtual tabletop, stat blocks, really cool stuff here. And in March, I have some puzzles coming out. And Ed, who is here in chat, designed some of these puzzles too. Thank you, Ed. By the way, Ed, I think I've mentioned this before, but the puzzles you made are freaking amazing. One of my other dudes, who was it? Spyro? Generous Heal. He made some of the puzzles too. Really, really cool stuff. So I definitely recommend this resource. It's got lots of different things in it for Dungeon Masters, and puzzles are one of the things that it has. So yes, I can definitely recommend some resources there. Link below. Whee! Thanks, Connor, for the question. That literally was not a plant. It was a legitimate question, I swear. It really was. All right. What is a DM to do when he has a player that tries to dictate his own rules to the game, questioning everything the DM says or does? You challenge him to a duel. You bring a sword and he brings a knife. Or no, wait. You bring a gun, he brings a knife. Don't do that. Dude, you gotta talk to the dude. Like, you can't put up with that crap. Like, I had a player like this once, and he wanted to do this. He questioned all of my rulings. He questioned all of my things, you know. And here's the thing: I'm not always right. And I'm okay if I don't know a rule or understand a rule, and a player talks to me about it, you know. But once I've made a decision, I've made a ruling, we need to move on, you know. And so I had a player who would constantly want to argue with me about things. He was the typical, you know, rules lawyer, that he would want to have these arguments and stuff. And nobody at the game table was having fun during those arguments, least of all me. And it didn't make the game any more enjoyable for anybody else. So the solution to this is to talk with the dude and be like, yo, this isn't going to work. Like, this is not going to work. We cannot keep having these arguments. Here's what happens when you argue with me about these rules and you try to push these rules upon me. Here's what happens. 1, I get pissed. 2, I'm not happy. 3, nobody else at the game table is happy because we're arguing about rules. You're probably not happy because you're arguing about rules. Really, when these rules arguments happen, nobody's happy. We come to D&D to play a game and have fun, and these rules arguments don't result in anybody having more fun. It really just results in people arguing about rules and crap. And here's the other thing too. The Dungeon Master is in charge of the rules. The Dungeon Master is able to make the rules if they want. They're able to change the rules if they want. So what I need from you, so basically this is the effect that this behavior is happening. These arguments are having this effect where people aren't having fun, and this is becoming just an unenjoyable experience for folks. Me, most of all, probably. So this is the effect your behavior is having. So what I need here is I need the rules arguing stop. Like, we can have a conversation about something that comes up, but once I make a ruling, you need to let it go and we need to move on. And that's the way it's got to be, because this is not going to continue like this. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. And that's the conversation needs to happen. You identify what they're doing that's causing the issue. You explain what the issue is, and then you ask them to stop doing the thing that's causing the issue. And hopefully you can have that conversation, and they're going to change their ways, and they're going to get better, you know, and they'll respect that boundary of once the dungeon master has. I can talk with the dungeon master. We can have a discussion about something, but once he's made a ruling, I need to let it go and move on. Now you're either going to have a couple things are going to happen. One, the player is going to understand that it's causing an issue, and they're going to change their ways, and everybody gets happier. Sometimes there might be a little bit of a problem, but you talk with them and but you can mostly see that they're trying to change and, you know, change their trajectory, in which case it's a win. Things get happier. If they continue doing the thing and arguing and stuff like that, well, then you got to make a decision. Are you going to put up with it? Are you going to roll over and die? Or are you going to ask them to leave your game? Because this is just not going to work. This is not, nobody's having fun, and we're not going to do this. So you are going to have to find a game where people enjoy arguing about rules, because we don't enjoy that around here. And they might have to leave your game. The player I was referencing had to leave my game. It wasn't the only offense he had committed. It was one of a few different offenses. But the rules arguing stuff was one of the reasons he was asked to leave the game. And what is it? Those are the two options. And the third option might simply be that you have this conversation and the player is like, screw this crap. You know, you always get the rules wrong, and I don't like this, and this is horse crap. I'm out of here. And they make that call for you, and it makes your life easier, and they leave, and then you can find a new player, you know? But you got to talk about that crap. You can't just put up with that stuff indefinitely. It's not, nobody's winning by your being tolerant and just putting up with horse crap. So don't put up with horse crap. I'm getting low on coffee. We're out of coffee. All right. Oh dear. Ed says, Luke, you need coffee and the cats need catnip. Thank you, Ed. I have 15 minutes before. How do you run passive mechanics for players who try to get super high passive perception or insight? There's no such thing as passive insight, really. I know 5th edition, I see character sheets coming out all the time. They have like passive everything. Everything's passive. Ah! So let's just not play the game anymore. Let's just stop playing the game and have everything be passive. You know what? I don't even have to show up for the game session. I can just give my character sheet to the dungeon master and the character sheet runs itself. Everything runs itself. I don't got to be there. I can create my character and send it to you and not even show up for the game session, and the game runs itself. It's just 100% passive. Woo! That sounds like a fun game. So the question is, how do you run passive mechanics for players who try to get super high passive perception? I mean, yeah, that's the thing. I had a player once who had like a 22, something crazy high passive perception, and they weren't that high. He did some feats or something. He did some stuff to really manipulate his perception and get it really, really high. And I think he might have had advantage on it too. He had some stuff going on there. I forget exactly what it was. And essentially, so essentially, the only thing that passive perception is good for in the games that I run is stealth. If you are stealthing, so if an enemy is stealthing, then their stealth score is going to be compared to your passive perception. And if your passive perception is higher, you are going to notice them. But I don't use passive perception for things like secret doors or traps or anything of that sort. I don't use passive insight, passive blah, 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 whatever. I don't use passive mechanics. If my players want to do a thing, they need to use their brains and they need to declare to me that they are doing a thing. It's called playing game. Now, in the case of stealth, I feel it makes sense to have a passive perception score. Otherwise, the players are going to be walking along, and then the dungeon master is like, hey, Could all of you make a perception check for me? And then they're all like, okay, what's going on around here that I didn't notice? And then they roll, and then everybody gets low scores, and they're just like, oh crap, what did we miss? What did we miss? What did we miss? And then one of the players is like, hey, I'm gonna start looking around carefully. You see, the metagaming begins, right? And so there is a good solid argument for passive perception for stealth. But that's the only one I really use in my games. I don't use any other passive checks at all. So in the case of stealth, if they have a high passive perception score and they spot the creatures, they spot the creatures. It's their character. They're good at that. Okay. It's life. So, but it doesn't mean that all of the other characters spot the creature. Those creatures could be super well hidden. The one character notices them, but the other ones can't see them and don't notice them. And then the ambush happens. That one character is not surprised because they were aware of their presence, even though they were being stealthy. But the other characters were not aware of their presence, and all of them are surprised. And that's how that would work. And that's not a big deal. The one character who built for a high passive perception is rewarded for having done so. There you go. Coffee. I will use my passive speed. Passive should be used to create a target number for other characters and NPCs. I do that a lot. I will frequently create DCs based on an enemy's like passive score on something, but that's a DC for characters to beat when they are making an active check, and that's a different use case than most people when they ask about it. Hobby dude, hello, what up? Passive spellcasting. Everything's passive. Don't even show up for the game. Just give me your character sheets and the game will run itself. I will run the game all by myself with your character sheets. And I will write you up a little story about what happened and email it to you. And all you need to do is read my little story and my summary. Jeremy says, I recently started a game with a few senior citizens at the home where I work. I've had to nerf mechanics a good bit. What do you think about slowly ramping up the complexity over multiple sessions? Yeah, absolutely. So when you're introducing the game to people who've never played before, that's always something to consider. And it's a perfectly fine approach. Keep the game simple, let them get the feel of it, let them start role playing, let them start playing the game, and then introduce more mechanics, and then they're gonna learn more about the mechanics. You don't want the mechanics to get in the way of playing the game, right, for new players. And so I think that's always a solid approach. And you just have to decide which are the mechanics that we're going to introduce when, and you slowly ramp it up. I think that's perfectly fine. Choco Brawler. I'm going to be brief with this. How do you stick to a theme with a campaign, especially with locations, NPCs, and plot points and quests? I'm going to be brief with my answer. You just do. How do you get up every morning at 4 o'clock and work on stuff? I just do. How do you eat food? I just put it in my mouth and I eat it. How do you clean your cat's litter boxes when you don't like doing it? I just make myself do it. How do you shovel the driveway? I just make myself do it. You just do it. Sometimes there are some things in life you don't have a motivation to do and you make yourself do it. It's discipline. It's called discipline. You know, I don't know. That's probably the only answer I got. Sorry. I feel like I've let you down. Sometimes you got to make yourself do crap, and that's the only way crap gets done. Could you go over your system where you roll D6s, not D20s? I think I know what you're talking about. So I introduced Dungeons and Dragons to some coworkers. One of my coworkers was having a birthday, and what he wanted for his birthday party or whatever that we were going to have at work was to play a game of D&D. And it was about 10 people that I was going to run D&D for, and none of them, well, one of them knew D&D mechanics, but none of the other ones even had ever played D&D before or knew it. And so I designed a very basic system to introduce the idea of the game to them. And every player had 2d6s, that's it. And they had a very short character sheet. And the character sheet simply had 3 things listed on it. It was basically like, you have a bottle of jars, you are good with fire magic, and you I don't know, you know history. That's it. 3 different things that your character has or knows. And then basically the player would simply declare to me what their character is attempting to do. One of the characters was like, I want to use my bottle of, he had a jar of eyeballs, a jar full of eyeballs. He was like a warlock or something. He's like, I want to use my jar full of eyeballs, and I want to channel my magic into it to try to see down that corridor over there. And so I was like, okay, roll 2d6s. And he rolled the d6s, and basically, because there's a bell curve on d6s, most of your rolls are going to be in that middle range. And so basically, if you rolled in that middle range, you would be successful at what you did. If you rolled low, then you would fail. And if you rolled super high, then you would have a very good success. And basically, they would just give me a generic description of what they wanted to do. They'd roll their 2d6s, and based on the results of the numbers, I would determine whether they failed, were successful, or were extremely successful. And we just rolled with that, and I would just describe things, and that's it. That's all it was. It was that simple. The character sheets were on little tiny pieces of paper that big. It was super, super simple, and the rules were very, very simple. I explained the rules in like a couple minutes. It did not take very long, and people were rolling dice, and we were playing the game. So that's the essence of that rule set that I just made up for them. It was super simple, super easy. The whole idea was to emphasize role playing and using your creativity and describing what your character was attempting to do, and leaving the mechanics to a bare minimum, and then allowing the dungeon master to adjudicate and decide what happened based upon what you declared you were doing and your dice rolls. And it was pretty much that simple. All right. How would you run a game that takes place mostly in the Far Realm? I don't know what the Far Realm is. I don't know. Sorry. I did that one. It's empty. It's totally empty. It's not doing me any good to pick that up. Arena Albion says, legit just finished a quite, in my experience, lovely session. Yet one player communicated afterwards feeling teased, sidelined too much. How should I deal with this? I don't know exactly what they're, I mean, you need to talk with them. Be like, okay, well, explain to me what was going on that made you feel that way. If it was something that you were doing, then you need to understand their point of view and how your actions affected them. And then you need to consider, you know, what you can do to not make them feel that way in the future. If they felt that that was happening because of something another player was doing, then maybe you need to get those 2 players together so you guys can talk about things, you know. But it's always a conversation. What you want to understand, our feelings are always, like, you know, real to the person having those feelings. So you need to talk with the person and see what was going on, see what you were doing that made them feel that way, you know, and then make an effort not to do the same stuff in the future that's going to make them feel that way, you know. I'm assuming that it's a reasonable, rational human being, you know, because there are irrational people who are always going to have issues and always be offended or have problems and have feeling problems, you know. you might not be able to do anything about people like that. But you know, if you have a normal human being, you know, you can usually talk about these things and work things out, and that's what I would recommend. I'm running out of the abyss. At the moment, I have 8 NPCs that escaped with the party. It's like the people, they write the module and they're just like, ha ha ha. Let's think about something we could do to make dungeon masters want to beat their head against a concrete wall and end their pain. Oh, I know. Let's make a module where the dungeon master has to run 8 NPCs at the same time with different personalities and stuff. And then maybe they get in combat too. And they have to run combat with monsters and 8 NPCs all at the same time? Oh, yes. I have an idea. Yeah, that's bad design, in my personal opinion. That's a way to make a dungeon master want to like just end the misery. So I feel for you. But the question is, I have 8 NPCs that escape with the party, and it's quite a lot to manage. Any tips on how to manage all those NPCs? Just kill some of them off. So, I'll tell you what. If I had read that, and I had seen that they want me to have 8 NPCs escape with the party, there's a couple different ways I probably would have gone with that. First, 1 NPC escapes with them, maybe 2, and that's it, and we're calling it a day. The other ones don't escape or something. I don't know. Or they do escape, but they don't stay with the party. Something causes them to get split up. Because it's possible, I haven't actually read Out of the Abyss, so I don't know, but it's possible that those NPCs are somehow relevant to the plot later on. And if that's the case, you don't want to necessarily just kill them or something, but they could go their separate ways. And then when it's convenient, they come back into the picture and stuff happens. So that's one thing that could have been done. The other thing you could do too is, who says that, my cat's biting me again. Who says the dungeon master has to run those NPCs in combat? Which is usually when most of the problems happen, which is usually when it's most difficult to manage a lot of NPCs, is in combat. So who says that you as the dungeon master can't roleplay the NPCs out of combat, but when it's time to have combat, you give your players some of those NPCs that they can run during combat to lower your burden and take some of that work away from you. Nothing wrong with that. I've done that before when I had lots of NPCs or creatures or something. Usually it's when my players have convinced some creatures to help them in a quest, and then I will just simply give I'll tell my players, you know, you guys are running these kobolds that you convinced to help you. That's on you. So, you know, look up their stat blocks, find them on D&D Beyond, you know, or pull it up on your phone or something, and you're running the kobolds. I'm not running them all, because I run enemies, I run bad guys. I do not like running good guys in combat. I don't. I want my players to do that. So I would give it to them. So now in your situation, you could still do that. You could still have them run the NPCs in combat. The other thing you can do, could you kill them off? You could kill them off. That's probably the least elegant way to handle it, in my opinion. Probably a last resort. You could have some of the NPCs just leave the party. Make up a reason. They could leave the party. They don't need to be with them forever. There's nothing to... I got coffee stuff in my throat. There's nothing to say that just because the NPCs are with the party right now, they have to be with the party tomorrow. Dude, you could have 6 of the NPCs like decide to steal a bunch of crap and then leave. Resources are you're low on resources. You just escaped from Drow. I think it's Drow, right? In the Underdark. And you're trying to escape and you don't have very many resources. So maybe some of the NPCs decide to steal a bunch of crap from the group and then go off on their own, figuring that it's going to be easier that way. I don't know. Make up a reason. So there's several little solutions for you. Do you, your players, ever make use of hirelings and henchmen? Or is it usually just a party of the PCs? Yes, we do use like hirelings, henchmen, interns, and stuff like that. My Ancient Dragon Patreon game has an intern. My Youngling group has an intern that they just got killed. So now they don't currently have an intern at all. So yeah, we do use those. One thing that I actually like, there are a few things I like about Tasha's. There's some gems in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, but one of the things I thought was really cool was the sidekick chapter toward the end of the book. There's a chapter on sidekicks and how to design a sidekick who is basically a hireling for the group or an intern or whatever. And I thought that was pretty cool. So yeah, that's something good about that book. I just wish they would put the mechanics for making a sidekick in D&D Beyond. And I read a thread where the D&D Beyond people were saying that it's their intention to do so, and that's good. So I'm looking forward to that being implemented. How do you deal with the players not respecting the prep time you put in as a DM? It depends on what they're doing. I don't know what their behavior they're doing, but I'm probably going to talk with them. All problems with players, all problems at the game player table result in having conversations with your players. The specifics of those conversations are going to depend upon the specifics of the problem being addressed, but it always is a conversation to talk things over and try to figure out a solution where everybody is okay with it. All right, we should do a cat strike, or not a cat strike, a cat trip. Let's do a cat trip and I get some more coffee. All right. Oh, I have to get their banana. Where's their banana? All right, so cat trip. This is the cat trip. This is the cat trip. We're gonna get the kitties all hopped up on legal addictive substances. Squeaky's getting excited. What's up, Squeaky? Do you want something? What's up, Squeaky? You guys are gonna see him rolling around like a maniac. And then we're gonna put one on the mouse. What? I just gave you some. Orange. All right, now you can watch them roll around, and I'm gonna get some more coffee. I'll be right back. Wouldn't this be performance? Yes, this is. Oh my gosh, look at mommy rolling. Look at her belly. Her belly's so adorable. Oh, this is awesome. She's so adorable. Oh. Orange is licking his belly. Everybody else is rolling. Yeah, we're getting some zoomies. Wiki. Squeaky like knocked the mouse off camera. Yeah, all they can do is roll. I know. You see, Danny, this is what you miss having a crappy internet. How do they become addicted to catnip? I don't think catnip is addictive. I don't think it is. Let's get going on the questions. What would you consider the main do's and don'ts of running modules? My group is starting a new campaign online, and I'm thinking of running Tombs of Annihilation. So I feel like the number one don't is don't blindly run a module. Don't blindly run a module as is. Modules are really there to give you material that you can then customize as a dungeon master to fit your preferences, to fit the preferences of your players. So don't just blindly run it as is. Make sure you customize it. Make sure you do things. Make sure you change things. I would, for instance, recommend that you check the encounters to see how challenging the encounters are, to see how deadly the encounters are. I was doing some checking on the Icewind Dale module, and many of those encounters are insanely deadly. So if you don't want to run a super deadly game, then you're going to want to change some of those encounters. There might be some adventures in there that you think suck, and instead of running that adventure, you might want to create your own homebrew adventure. You might want to change a lot of stuff about one of those adventures in there. So modules are guidelines. They get 80% of the work done for you, perhaps as a dungeon master, but you still got to get in there and you got to tweak things and you got to change things and make sure that it's going to work for your group. So that's the first thing that I would recommend when running a module. My very first module that I ever ran was Princes of the Apocalypse, and I had decided in my ignorance to just run the module exactly as it had been written, because I assumed that surely professional game designers knew what they were doing. No, they don't. Princes of the Apocalypse is a hot flaming mess from a high level game design. The way they designed the different keeps and how the levels progress is an absolute disaster. It is just like horrible, stupid, idiotic, moronic game design. And people were smoking stuff that no human being was ever intended to smoke when that module was designed from a high level perspective. Now, the individual adventures are fun, but the high level game design was really stupid. Yeah, you live, you learn. What are you gonna do? So that's the first thing I'd recommend about running modules. That's the biggest thing. That's really the biggest thing. Don't be afraid of getting it all right, is the other thing I would say. sometimes because you have this big huge module, you feel like you have to do you have to know all the little things in it, and you have to follow everything in it, you know, and you might spend a lot of time trying to find things and look things up during the game, and you're afraid to improvise. Don't be afraid to improvise and make things up. Don't feel like you have to stick to the script about all the little details about the NPC and what the NPC knows and does and what they should do. You know what I mean? So don't, because see, a module, having all that stuff prepared can be freeing in a way, because you don't have to do all that prep work, but it can also be a constraint because you feel like you're beholden to do it the way that it's spelled out in the module or something. So, you know, don't let it like constrain you and imprison you, so to speak, either. So yeah, there's some ideas there. Smoked bacon and ham are good. Well, thank you, Nixit, for making brisket. What are you guys talking about? Brisket is very good. I love brisket. Corned beef brisket. Oh, it's so good. Are humans meant to smoke anything? That was your question? Yeah, you totally walked into that one. The cats are all gone now. I guess there's nothing to look at down there. Are humans meant to smoke anything? Brisket, ribs. Yeah, there's a lot of things that are very good smoked. Barbecue helps too. Put some barbecue in there. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. What's the best way to stay motivated as a DM? I don't know. It sure helps to run games that you enjoy running. Using monsters that you enjoy or a module that you enjoy. You definitely want to be doing something that you enjoy. It's probably going to help to stay motivated to have players that you enjoy hanging out with. That's probably going to help you stay motivated. I mean, you want to be having fun, and you want to do things, you know, that are going to help promote fun for you as the dungeon master. And if you're having fun, then you're going to have a better chance of staying motivated. Sometimes, though, you just need a break. There's a saying, absence makes the heart grow fonder. Sometimes you take a break from D&D, from being a dungeon master, and you realize how much you miss it. And you have a break from prepping all the time. You have a break from running games all the time. And you get to relax a little bit. You get to do some different things. And you get to just think about adventures, think about D&D, you know, and you might start salivating over it just as much as we were salivating over the brisket and stuff from the question about smoking stuff. So sometimes you need a break. You just need to relax and just read and think about D&D a little bit, and then you're going to maybe get your interest and your inspiration will be rekindled, and you'll have a renewed desire to do it. Sometimes that's a solution too. I've read Tomb of Horrors from the what is that stupid thing? I don't even know where it is. What's the name of that module? Which one is it in? There, thank you, Jesse. Tales from the Yawning Portal. I was looking over my bookcase trying to find it. I didn't see it over there. Tales from the Yawning Portal. I read it. I've never run it in there. It didn't seem incredibly interesting to me. It seemed basically like a dungeon full of gotchas. It was like a dungeon full of DM screw jobs. I mean, if you're doing it as a one shot or something, I don't know, it could be fun, but I don't know. It didn't particularly appeal to me. I would say probably that about half of everything in Tales from the Yawning Portal did not appeal to me as a dungeon master. There was some adventures in Tales from the Yawning Portal that were just like Please, love all that is holy. I never want to play this game, this adventure, let alone have to be the dungeon master running this adventure. Ugh. There was one of them, let's find out which one. There was one of them that was absolutely atrocious when I read it. I'm gonna find which one it was so I can slander it. Let's find Tales from the Yawning Portal. The Hidden Shrine of Tamachakachakin. Oh my word. I read through this and it was painful to read, let alone have to run this one. Oh no, please save me from this. So yeah, this one did not appeal to me. The Sunless Citadel, that sounded very cool. I did not play it, but I read it. It sounded cool. The Forge of Fury. You guys, the Forge of Fury is an amazing adventure. I ran this adventure for my youngling group. Very, 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 very fun. Amazing, cool adventure for lots of different reasons. White Plume Mountain, I read through it, didn't run it. It sounded interesting. Dead and Thay is crazy long. I read through a little tiny bit of it, but not all of it. It seemed interesting, but I didn't read enough to really give a strong recommendation. Against the Giants is abysmally, I mean, it's got some cool ideas in there, but it needs so much help. Like, one of the things, let me show you one of the things that's so stupid. In the steading of the Hill Giant Chief, look at this stupid map. Each square is 10 feet. Okay, hold on a second. Let me do a thing. Okay, so each square is 10 feet. This, okay, you guys, this has hill giants in it. Hill giants take up a 15 by 15 foot square. Do you know what that means? Throughout many parts of this, the hill giants are gonna have to fight single file against adventurers. In some parts of this adventure, the hill giants are going to be squeezed. Look at this. They're squeezed. They're squeezed. They're fighting single file. This is an absolutely horribly designed map for giants. Holy crap, it's so bad. So, you got to do some rework on this bad boy before it's usable. Let's just say that. I will stop talking trash about it now. I can keep going on, but I won't. Oh, did we go through all of them though? What were the other ones? What were the other ones? Tales from the Yawning Portal. And then, oh, the last one was Tomb of Horrors. Tomb of Horrors, that wasn't my cup of tea. Wasn't my cup of tea. Yeah, it's crazy stupid. The way they design those maps, they're just like, it's so stupid. Okay, where are the questions? Whee! They can't even fit through the doors. Yeah, I know, they can't even fit through the doors. Some of my players want a relaxed campaign, and others want death to be a frequent threat. Would you give their characters different challenges, or just take a middle-of-the-road compromise? I wouldn't compromise. When you compromise, nobody gets what they want. It's true. Think about it. When you compromise, no one gets what they want. If some people want a relaxed, casual campaign, that's what they really want. Other people want a campaign that's gritty, hardcore, where death is frequent. And instead of either of those, you give them a middle-of-the-road compromise. This group of players is not getting what they want. This group of players is not getting what they want. Nobody's getting what they want. I don't see that being the way to go. So what would I do? I would have a variety of adventures. I would have a variety of different things in my game. Some things would be relaxed and easy. Some things would be hard and complex and challenging. So this group would get what they want some of the time. This group would get what they want some of the time. Now, when I'm giving this group what they want, is this group going to be unsatisfied? A little bit, but they know they're going to get some cool stuff later. And when I'm giving these guys that really challenging stuff where death is frequent, maybe, are these guys going to be super excited about that? No, probably not. But they know that the next adventure is going to give some more stuff for them, you know? So I would probably do a little bit of each. In general, you're almost always going to have players who have a variety of things that they like in the game, different things that they find interesting. Some people love combat, other people love not role playing. I'm a moron. Some people love social interactions. Some people love exploration. So what you do is you design your adventures, you design your games to have a variety of elements in there so that all the different player types are getting their little fix, being able to do the things they find enjoyable in the game. And that's the way to do that. So that everybody gets something that they like. Ed says, how do you stay up and energetic in your videos? It's just performance. My videos, I mean, so I record my videos once a month in a big batch where I do all of them in one recording. And it takes me, for the talking head parts of my videos, it takes me probably, the setup time is probably about maybe 2 hours to get all of my equipment set up. And then actual recording time is usually about 2 to 3 hours. 2 to 3 hours to actually record it. And so basically I just have 3 hours that I turn a switch and I just keep myself super energetic and I'm going at them. You're putting on a performance for the camera. You turn your energy up, you turn your personality up. It's just a thing that you do when you're recording your videos, you know. It's not like you're being a different person, but you are being, you are turning your energy up and you are turning your personality up, you know. So it's just a thing you do, you know, and you do it I do it once a month for a few hours when I'm recording my videos, and I just have trained myself to do that. It's just how I behave. It's what I do. What is this on my desk? Oh, it's a little plant or something. Oh, it's catnip. It's catnip. That's what it was. It was like this little thing that looked like a squid or something, but it was a little piece of vegetation from the catnip or something, whatever. The skits take me the longest to record. The skits, when I record the skits, those take me probably about 6 to 7 hours to record all of the skits for 1 month. Those take a long time. It's a lot of effort. The talking head bits are way easier to record than the skits. Oh man, the skits take so much effort. Question, will Luke collab with Ted, Nerd Immersion, Guy, Great GM, or the other YouTube TT RPGers? Here's the thing, you guys. Collaborations take a lot of effort. They take a lot of effort. It is way easier for me to just do my own thing. Collaborations take a lot of effort. And I've done collaborations before and stuff, and I don't know. Yeah, it's a lot of work. So will it happen? Maybe, I don't know. I do not seek collaborations. I never seek collaborations. If somebody wants to collaborate with me, they can contact me and we might work something out. If they can be professional about it. I've attempted to do collaborations with folks who are not very professional and they fall apart, and it is a very big headache. And I don't want to do that stuff. You put tons of time and stuff into this, it's a headache, and then it falls apart and it doesn't work. It's a very frustrating experience. So if you can get someone who wants to do a collaboration and they can stick to times and deadlines and stuff, and they can show up when they're supposed to, and they can act like a professional, that's a totally different story. That could be an enjoyable experience. But not all of my collaboration attempts have been enjoyable experiences. It's just not everybody knows how to, like, you know, I don't know, act professionally, you know, and stuff. So yeah. So I don't usually seek out collaborations. If people ask me about it, that's a different thing. But and the collaborations I have done usually don't. They take a lot of extra work and stuff, and there's like no benefit of doing it, you know? So I don't know. It's not something I usually get too excited about, in all honesty. Now, just showing up on somebody's live stream, that's a lot easier. That's a lot easier. If you're talking about an actual video where you collaborate and make a special video or something, that's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. Taco Robot, you're very welcome, dude. I'm happy to help, man. Yeah, Brennan Lee. See, when I had Brennan Lee Mulligan on and I had Dungeon Coach on, those were just live streams, you know. I brought them on a live stream and we talked. Those are easy. Those are the sorts of collaborations where it's like, oh yeah, just bring them on a live stream. Let's just talk. That's easy. Those collaborations are super easy. No problem at all. The collaborations I'm talking about that are pains in the butts are when you're actually trying to create like a formal YouTube video together, where you're gonna get together, you're gonna talk about scripting, those are really pains. I've tried to do some of those, and those are usually not very fun. So, nice Stagium, $5. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate that. Who crit failed on their collaboration? I'm never gonna name a name. That just wouldn't be professional. That would be me complaining that somebody else is not being professional and then me slandering them in front of everybody. That's just not cool. So I would never do that. So I appreciate the $5, but you're not getting an answer. But it has kind of soured me to collaborations, to be perfectly honest. Fun to live streams. Live streams are fun though. Seaver says, would be you not being professional? Nixit says, it's like an 8th grade science project. I always end up doing all the work in our group collaboration. Yeah, sometimes it feels that way. Why the glass tabletop? Because this is the desk I found that I liked. That's why. It's like the perfect desk for a computer. It has a tabletop, it has a keyboard tray, a very wide keyboard tray, which I need because I have a massive mechanical keyboard and then a mouse next to it. And on the back part of the desk, it has an elevated, thinner area of the desk that's designed for the monitors. So you can put your monitors there. Like it's like and then down below, it has a shelf a little bit off the floor where you can put your PC tower. And so it's like this desk was like perfectly designed for what I needed it for. And it happened to come with a glass desktop. So that's what I got. It wasn't bought specifically because I cared to have a glass desktop, but that's what I got. Show us the desk. I don't think I can really show you the desk. Yeah, just don't really have cameras pointing that way. Here you go. Nope, that's the wrong one. Here you go. Here's the desk. You get the desktop. It's all you get to see. And then the coffee cup. Look at that. Let's get some coffee going on right there. Good stuff. What desk chair do you use? Would you recommend it? This is just something that I got from like Office Depot or Office Max or something. I literally just went into the store and sat down in a whole bunch of chairs. And this chair was very, very comfortable. And it looks cool. It's like one of those gamer type chairs, you know? You know, the thousands of people who are on Twitch streaming to like one viewer. It's their mom. They get these chairs. So it looks cool. And it's very comfortable. I actually bought a gamer chair online. And I got it and put it together, and like it was just uncomfortable, and I did not like it at all. And then they basically wouldn't let me return it. And so I took it with my daughter, and I was like, "Hey, daughter, would you like this chair?" And she liked it, and so that was her new chair. And then I went to the store and bought this one. Mr. T, what's going on, dude? Good to see you, man. No desk can be that perfect. My desk is perfect. Like, literally, this computer desk does everything that I want it to do. It even has, on the back side of it, it has little holes along this vertical portion of it for cable management. So you can have cables going in and stuff. It's like, and it's, a lot of the desk is open. It's not enclosed. So you get really good air movement in there and stuff. Like, it's just a perfect desk. It's about the right size too. It's got a good width to it. You know, I can get all my crap up here. It's a very good desk. People can steal my monitors, my PC. They can just leave the desk. Leave the desk. Don't take my desk. The other stuff I can just buy again. The desk, they probably won't have it. I won't be able to find it, and I won't be able, yeah, it's just gonna be horrible. Question, can you do a plug for your merch as the Barbarian? Well, absolutely. I would love to do a plug for my merch as the Barbarian. Okay, listen up, everybody. This plug right here is in honor of Danny, because she is the merch king. So I have high quality t-shirts and hoodies and other fine apparel that you can buy. You can basically buy my merch. It's right down below, right here on YouTube. There's a little banner below the video where you can find all of my merch. And basically, if you buy my merch, you can become a walking billboard for the channel. Yeah, all of your friends can see you wearing the DM Lair merch, and you're gonna look just as cool as I look. And everybody on the street will see you, and they'll have no idea what it means. And they're gonna ask you, hey, where did you get that cool shirt? And look at the back of it. The back of it says stuff like, I've been a dungeon master since high school. You see? That's like the coolest merch you can get. Now, this shirt right here, I'm gonna be honest, this shirt right here is a Kickstarter exclusive shirt. So these special colors were only available to people on my Kickstarter. But you can get the normal shirts though, and be like a normal cool person, as opposed to like a super cool person. But that's okay. Not everybody can be super cool. Sometimes you just have to, like, you know, resign yourself to being like okay-ish and like mediocre cool, you know, and that's fine. There are lots of people in this world who are mediocre cool and not super cool, which is okay, because most people are not very cool. So if you can just be mediocre cool and not super cool, but just go buy the t-shirts and hoodies. They're very, very nice, and they're soft and comfortable, and your cats will like you. Oh, and you'll get lots of girlfriends and boyfriends, and you'll be very popular, and yeah, you'll be famous, and you might be president someday. Yeah, go buy the merch. You'll find out. Yeah. How was that, Danny? Luke, you started out so strong. Is the Norse rune also for sale? No, these aren't for sale. I have all 12 though. I have the entire collection of them. This is why Luke doesn't work in sales. Hey, I wasn't the one doing the selling. That was the barbarian. I blame the barbarian. Which voice is the hardest to do? The rogue. Oh, the rogue voice. So, you see, the wizard voice is not that hard. It's just quite simple, actually. And the barbarian voice is pretty easy. I don't have any problem doing the barbarian voice. And the druid voice is just, you know, this guttural thing. It's not that big of a deal. Fat Cat, though, is quite heavy and difficult to hold. You know, no kidding. The fighter voice is just, you know, not a thing either. No problem doing the fighter voice.
You know, but the rogue voice is really hard. It's got this stuff in my throat, and it's all like kind of nasally and high-pitched. The rogue voice is very, very difficult. And I can't do this very long. It's challenging.
And that's about it. Right about there, right about there, the rogue was like dying. I probably couldn't have done that very much longer. So by far, the rogue voice is hard to do. Barbarian voice is Luke's normal voice when he isn't role-playing the DM. That's not very nice. You're a bad person. I'm convinced humans and kobolds are the only races in the world of the skits. Yeah, dude. You use clothespins on your Adam's apple to voice female NPCs? Dude, what? It's like squeezing and stuff? Whoa. Maverick, what's up? How would you do a Rakshasha's voice? I'm not a voice actor, you guys. I don't even do voices that well. So, like, I'm gonna fail those questions. I'm totally gonna fail those questions. All right, keep the questions flowing. We have a little bit of time left to keep answering the questions. What are your tips for a first-time DM running the Essentials Kit campaign? I don't have that kit. I've never read those things. What are my tips for a first-time dungeon master? I don't know. I have a channel full of videos with information and stuff. Do the best you can, try to have fun, relax, don't get too worked up. It's a game, the idea is to have fun. You'll get better as you go, don't expect yourself to be a rock star the first time you run D&D. You know, so there's a few things for you. All right, while you guys are throwing more questions in there, I'm gonna give a shameless plug, because that's what we do around here. So I have a monthly PDF that I publish out to my patrons. It has tons of Dungeon Master resources in it. Things like adventure ideas, entire D&D 5th edition adventures with maps designed for virtual tabletops such as Roll20 and Fantasy Grounds. It has traps, villains, stat blocks, NPCs, magic items, encounters, whole bunches of stuff. On screen, you can see examples of it right there. Every single month my patrons get this. It theoretically will help reduce your prep time, possibly improve the quality of your games. I have professional grade maps in it from the Mad Cartographer, who I've teamed up with. That bad boy right there you saw was from the Mad Cartographer. Very, very high quality crap. So if this is something you're interested in, there is a link down below. Every single month, more PDFs come out. We just dropped the February PDF yesterday. Yeah, yesterday. And that's what you're looking at right there. So yeah, good stuff. It's like over 30 pages of content for Dungeon Masters. So if you're interested in that, then go check that stuff out. Whee! What breed of cat is Fat Cat? Calico? I'm gonna go with Calico. Tabby, a yellow tabby, an orange tabby. Garfield. The breed is Garfield. I'm not an expert on cat breeds. How do you deal with the so-called critical role effect? I don't have to deal with it because I don't care. I've never had a problem. My players have never come in with false expectations based upon having watched Critical Role. Most of my players don't watch Critical Role. Yeah, most of my players don't even watch Critical Role. Many of my players had never heard of it until I talked to them about it. As a so that's the one effect is players who have false expectations. And the other effect could be that I feel that my games need to be like that, and I am under no delusion of my games needing to be like that, or my needing to be a dungeon master like Matt Mercer or anything. Like, so I don't have to deal with that in any aspect. My players do not have false expectations, and I do not feel that I need to do anything different about the way that I am being a dungeon master. There is no, like, you know, higher standard that I have to aspire to. I was like, I don't, yeah. So I don't have to deal with it, is the bottom line. Where was that one? Oh, I already did it. Okay. Your advice on players with bad luck. My friend was rolling horribly the last few sessions. It's life. It happens. Sometimes you roll horribly. It sucks. Move on. Hopefully next time you roll better. And if you don't, and if you always roll horribly, your dice might be misbalanced. They might be unbalanced in the bad way, which causes you to roll low. Try different dice. Cheap dice aren't usually balanced very well, and sometimes they can be balanced very poorly. So maybe try some different dice. Otherwise, it's life, live with it, and move on. Hopefully your luck gets better. A lot of times bad luck is just perceived that way. We have like what is it? There's a cognitive bias, you know, where you will basically, because you expect the bad luck, your brain will fixate on the bad luck when it happens. Whereas if you were to rationally and in an unbiased way actually keep track of the dice rolls, you would find that there's actually an even distribution of dice rolls, but because of your cognitive bias, you fixate on the bad rolls, and you think that you have an unusual amount of bad rolls, whereas you actually have an even distribution, but because of your bias, you just don't see that, and you only see the bad ones. So that is a thing that could be happening as well. Have you run Waterdeep Dragon Heist? Yes, I ran almost all of it before I had to cancel that game due to lack of time. Any tips on someone running it for the first time? Nothing really comes to mind. I mean, it's the same tips I would give probably running any module. It's a good module. I liked it. I thought it was really fun. I thought it was really good. It was very solid. I don't know if you're planning on running Dungeons of the Mad Mage afterwards, but what I was planning on doing is I was going to have one of the villains was going to be the benefactor of the party when they got to Dungeons of the Mad Mage, and he was going to essentially sponsor their delving down into Dungeons of the Mad Mage. I was going to use Jarlaxle from Brigandareth, or however you pronounce that, to like sponsor the group and help give them a reason for actually going into Dungeons of the Mad Mage. So I don't know if you're planning on doing Dungeons of the Mad Mage afterward, but if you are, you can use one of those villain groups, and it could be Jarlaxle, it could be any of the villain groups that are presented there as like a sponsor or something of the group, a patron of the group. You could actually use the rules from Tasha's about having patrons, which are actually good rules, to help give the group a reason to do Dungeons of the Mad Mage, because Dungeon of the Mad Mage, the actual adventures in Dungeon of the Mad Mage are really cool. I like them. I think they're really well done. The biggest problem with Dungeon of the Mad Mage is there's no reason to go into the dungeon. So they kind of give you a couple reasons in some things, but they're very, very unsatisfactory. And it's usually something like, oh, at level 5, do X thing. Well, we got to go through all of these levels to get there, and it's going to take us a long time. So if you have a patron or a sponsor to put some story reasons in there, maybe have some different things they got to do, you'll have to, like, you know, homebrew some stuff, you know, that can definitely make Dungeons of the Mad Mage better, and that is the biggest thing that it lacks. But the adventures themselves in Dungeons of the Mad Mage are very well done. People think Dungeons and Mage is you're just this old school dungeon crawl where you just like go from level 1 down to 20, just killing everything, and there's no story and there's nothing going on in there, and that is not true at all. There is lots of different factions and interactions, and there's a lot of plot and story in Dungeons and Mage. It's very, very well put together. I haven't read every single bit of it, but all the parts that I have read have really impressed me with how well it was done. Naked Giraffe, thank you for the $2. I appreciate it. Keep up the good stuff, man. Love your content. Well, thank you, dude. I appreciate that. Cool name too. My moderators are like. I just got coffee grinds. Ah! Come on! Goliath Cleric, why did you not warn me about the coffee grinds? This is a huge failing. First you kill Penguin Butt, and then you fail to tell me about the coffee grinds. Uh-oh, Danny has a very important request. Life or death level of importance. Uber eats me a cake. I have no idea what that means. Can you speak English? You gotta help me out, Danny. Come on, Danny. You don't come to any of my live streams, and then you're just giving me stuff I don't understand. My voice is going. I'm about to have a session 0 with 4 new players and an older player who hasn't played in a while. What module do you think I should put them through? I'm not gonna give you a recommendation on that. You need to do a couple things. First of all, like, you should try to pick a module that you think is interesting to you and that you will have fun running. Dude, a module's a commitment, man. You're gonna be running that game for like 2 or 3 years or something. I don't know how long it's gonna take, you know, but that's a commitment. You need to pick a module that you think is interesting and you think will be fun for you to run as a dungeon master. That's the first thing. Second of all, consider what you think your players might enjoy running. So those are some of your main considerations there. So I don't know all the answers to your guys' personal preferences and stuff. But if I give you a recommendation and you just pick something because Luke said to run it, you might hate it, dude, because it just might not be your thing and it might not appeal to your players. So I don't, and I haven't read all of the modules either, so I am probably not the right person to ask anyway, because modules aren't really my thing. So sorry, that's kind of all I got. I punted on that one. It's like, Tony, thank you for the $5 super chat. I appreciate that, buddy. Tony says, prepping for dungeons, executing dungeons. How does it differ from prepping battles outside of dungeons? What comes to mind when you think dungeon tips? Okay, so creating dungeons and running dungeons is pretty easy. Location-based adventures, we call those location-based adventures. Those are pretty easy. Those are the easiest thing to run, to prep and to run, generally speaking. There's a reason I did a video recently on event-based adventures. There's a reason that very few people run event-based adventures. There is a reason that almost all modules you will find do not have event-based adventures, because they're very challenging to write and to run. So now your question is, how does it differ from prepping battles outside of dungeons? Well, if I'm doing stuff outside of a dungeon, then I have to consider things like usually you have a larger, wider open space, and large open spaces bring a lot of things into consideration. The players might see the enemies from a long way away, and they can lob arrows at them and fireballs and other things before the enemies can get close. Now, of course, the same is true of the enemies. they can fire from afar as well. But you might get into a situation there where, you know, what about the terrain and stuff like that? Are we just talking about shooting arrows back and forth? Are we really just coming down to rolling dice and doing math and stuff? Where are the tactics to be considered? You know, what kind of terrain and different things are going to be going on to make this more interesting than just doing math as we deduct hit points and see if my stuff hits and stuff like that? Because in dungeons, when quarters are closer and there's furniture and other things in there and doorways and hallways, you have terrain, things are more interesting for combat. There's a lot of there's so many good things about running adventures inside locations. Could be a dungeon, a castle, etc. So many benefits, so many good reasons to run an adventure in a dungeon. We'll just call them dungeons to just make a generic term. Whereas outside, when you're doing battles and stuff outside, things get a little more complicated. Things like flight, being able to fly when you're outside and open doors is a huge thing, you know, and then you get into a whole thing like that. So that's something to consider. Another thing to consider when you're doing stuff outdoors is resting, long rests, short rests. When you're having adventures that take place outside over large open areas and stuff, a lot of times you run into the issue of players wanting to take short rests or long rests a lot. If there isn't some sort of time bomb or ticking clock that pressures them to hurry up and go about their thing, you might find them taking short rests or long rests quite frequently when they're out of doors, when they're outside in open air. Whereas when you're in a dungeon, when you're in a small dungeon, the consequences for taking a short rest or a long rest especially are much more grave, because you have a smaller area, and you know the inhabitants of the dungeon are going to wander around and find dead bodies and find you resting, and things could happen, you know. But when things are taking place outside and you're dealing with much larger distances, there are more you just have this added complication, you know. So there's a couple things to consider there. Overall, in my opinion, you're probably going to find that running adventures outside is going to be more challenging for a variety of reasons, and possibly not as fun and engaging of an experience than running adventures in locations. That has been my general finding as a dungeon master. So I run almost all of my adventures indoors somewhere, for a variety of reasons. Location based. It's a typical location based adventure. So I don't know. I talked about the subject. I hope there was something helpful there. TH3MIN3R 3000. Thank you for the $5 super chat. Didn't have anything specific. You're awesome, and so is your content, Luke. Well, thank you, dude. I really appreciate that, man. Thank you so much. My voice is just shot right now. I can barely speak. I'm like, I can just feel it like right now. Have you ever tried using or creating a flowchart on an adventure or module? Heavens, no, never. Why would I use a flowchart when I have a brain that can make decisions? Why? No, I'm gonna use my brain. It's easier and takes less work. Now, if you don't have a brain, then that's my. But I'm just gonna think and use my brain. I don't use flowcharts. Danny says, "What are your feelings about Dungeon Fog?" Totally not rant bait. I used to like it a lot. Not so much anymore. It just lags the whole. You're trying to when you have too many nodes in a large dungeon, the whole platform lags and is unusable. Like, I don't care how cool your widgets and stuff are. If the whole thing is lagging and I can't get anything to work, it doesn't do me a whole lot of good, does it? Okay, I'm done. I used to like it a lot, but once we started running into that, it was like, this program just doesn't work very well. It's not gonna do it anymore. And it's cloud-based, it's on the internet, so it's not like you can't blame your computer, you know? It's browser. it's all on the server end, you know? So I don't know. Nixus says it was suggested. I wanted a response. Thank you. Hey, no problem, dude. Why would I use flowcharts when I have a brain? Maverick says, do you have a particular speed you like your characters to level? Just by XP or perhaps plot based? Or could it get to the point where you speed it up to meet your ideal time frame? I tend to like I don't use XP, I use milestone. I tend to have players level about every 3 or 4 game sessions, which is about how long my adventures usually last. So I tend to have my players level after every adventure. And when you have them leveling, for my games, I run most of my games every 2 weeks. So when they level about let's do easy math. When they level about every 4 game sessions, that's 1 level every 2 months. So over the course of a year, they gain 6 levels, which means that they get to level 20 after about 3 years, which is about how long my campaigns last. Because usually my campaigns will last to get to level 20 and then you'll reset, you know. So yeah, that's generally what I tend to go for. I feel like, and when you're at a certain level for 3 or 4 game sessions, you get to learn the stuff, you get to use the cool new stuff that you got, you get to learn it, you know, you get better at it and stuff. But then, you know, you're probably about ready to get some more new cool stuff and level up. You don't want to level too fast, because then you know, you're just cruising and the players never really get to accustomed to the new cool stuff that they got, and they're getting more stuff that they have to learn. If you level too slowly, then they're just like, oh man, we really want to level up. Like, you know, I want to do cool stuff. I want to get this new cool thing. So you don't want to go too slow either. My friend John was telling me a story once where he was playing in a game where the dungeon master had them level up once a year. And if you died during that year, like out of game, an entire year, and if you died and had to make a new character or something, you usually did not level. And people died from time to time. And so they found themselves like at level 1 for like a couple years or something. I don't know how long the game lasted, but they like basically never could level. And they were always playing like level 1 characters or something. I don't know how they even continued playing. It seems like if that's how the game is, I would probably be finding a new game, because that just sounds crazy. So that's absolutely far too slow. You don't want to do that. That's crazy. 1 year. Why? I don't know. I don't know why it was once a year. It's just how the dungeon master did it. Level 1 is awful. Anyway, well, this was a while ago, so I'm sure it was not 5th edition level 1. It was probably like a different edition, which doesn't make it any better. Level 1 is usually always awful, regardless of the edition.
Holy crap!
Man. All right, we're doing one more question, then I'm done. Werewolf says Valentine's Day is around the corner. Actually, my next game session for Curse of Strahd is on Valentine's Day, February 14th. And one of my players pinged me. I told people that the game was on that day, and he's like, hey, did we get a Valentine's Day present? And I responded back and I was like, yeah, you get a present from Strahd. And another player responded and was like, yeah, it's probably a human heart. That would be the perfect Valentine's gift from Strahd. A beating human heart. Oh, that's beautiful. I want to buy something for my girlfriend, and I'm torn between buying her a metal or resin dice. What do you think would be a better investment? I like metal dice. Metal dice are pretty cool. Or get some dice out of like a gem, like not like an inexpensive gem, you know, obsidian or crystal or something. You know, you can get a nice set out of like some cheap gems or something. too. Those are always something to consider. Gems. Yeah, go for a gem, dude. Get like some sort of gem. Doesn't have to be expensive. There are cheap gems. Have you ever considered a forest or other type of an environment as a dungeon? Yes, I actually, for my Kickstarter, Into the Fae, one of my adventures is called The Shrubbery Nights, and it takes place in a forest. And basically what I did to emulate the feeling of it being location-based and to have constraints and confinement and stuff, what I did is there were pathways and open areas, but the villain of that quest had caused much of the forest around her castle to become overgrown with undergrowth, vines, thorns, and other things, so that if players tried to move through that thick undergrowth, or even through the trees, which had vines with thorns around them, they would take damage, and it would be very difficult for them to move through it. And so I replicated the feel of it being in a dungeon inside of a location-based adventure. It was outdoors, but through the way I designed it, it felt like you still had rooms and corridors, and it wasn't like a huge wide open area. So I have done that before, but I crafted it so that it could function as a dungeon. So yes, I have done that before. I don't do it a whole ton, because you gotta have a gimmick, obviously, similar to the gimmick I just described, to make it work. Or you gotta have a timer ticking down that puts pressure on them. And then it can kind of function the same way. All right, I think we're done. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're done. I'm ending. I stream every week on Twitch, you guys. I'm only on YouTube streaming about once a month, but I'm over on Twitch every single week, twice a week right now we're doing it. I do Q&A every Tuesday, and then unless my internet dies on me like it did a couple days ago. And then on Fridays we create stuff together, which are the things that I publish on my website, thedmlair.com. So come join me over on Twitch. I'm sure a moderator will be so kind as to drop a link to my Twitch channel, but it's all over the place anyway. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, fat cat alert. Fat cats all over the place. This has been cool. I'm probably gonna go to bed now. So have fun, folks, and we'll see you later. Yeah. Whee! Smoke your brisket and feed the chonkers. Oh yes. I want a brisket now, man. I so want a brisket. All right, I'm ending this stuff. Here we go. Ending the stream. Bye, everybody.